Ukraine is suggesting a 15-year consultation period on the status of that annexed part of Ukraine, which Russia annexed previously. But that would only come into force in the event of a complete ceasefire inside Ukraine.
In other news today, Democrats on Capitol Hill want answers after finding a 7.5-hour gap in former President Donald Trump's telephone records on the day of the Capitol Hill insurrection by his supporters. FSN's Kate Fisher in our Washington bureau with the details.
There is no record of calls made by the former president during the critical period of the day when his supporters violently surged the building. The gap also stands in contrast to the extensive public reporting about phone conversations he had with his allies during the attack. The report says the House Select Committee is now investigating whether it does have the full record or whether Mr. Trump communicated that day through back channels, phones of aides or personal disposable phones.
Britain's Queen Elizabeth was in London today for the first time this year, attending the memorial service for her late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh. He died last year at the age of 99. Among the 1,800 mourners, representatives of many charities the Duke led and supported. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, an eyewitness account of the bunker from which President Zelensky and his team are leading Ukraine's resistance to Russia's military onslaught. The description comes from Oliver Carroll, a correspondent for The Economist in Kiev, who was part of a team from the newspaper that secured an interview with the Ukrainian president over the weekend.
It's a very unusual thing to be invited to the compound, the presidential office. We took a while to get there. The route to the compound is usually about 10 minutes, but because of the way that central Kiev is now set up, essentially to disorientate any possible enemy group, it took about an hour to get there, and then we arrived basically at this, as they described it themselves, the fortress. Sandbags everywhere. We spent pretty much an hour, in fact a bit more than an hour with the president, and got to see how his operation is set up, and that was probably for me the most interesting part of things, because I mean I've been in presidential and sort of prime ministerial offices before, and Zelensky's operation is much more horizontal. Everyone is sort of doing their own job, and the president sort of lets them get on with that. I think that might be one of the reasons why this war effort is so unusually successful.
He says the Ukrainian president was calm and told The Economist that he is stunned the Russians are not even collecting the bodies of their war dead. Putin, he says, is throwing troops like logs into a train's furnace. The main news again, US officials are dismissing Kremlin claims that it's scaling back some military operations in Ukraine. Democrats on Capitol Hill want answers after finding a 7.5-hour gap in former President Donald Trump's phone records on the day of the Capitol Hill insurrection. And Britain's Queen Elizabeth was at Westminster Abbey today for the memorial service of the Duke of Edinburgh. There's more from us on Twitter at Feature Story, and that is the latest Feature Story news. Simon Marks reporting.
According to a study released Thursday by the Princeton University Department of Biology, this local 2-year-old woodland chipmunk has crafted a far more secure and dependable plan for the future than 8 out of 10 Americans. Reporters spoke to citizens to get their view on the study.
Clearly, this chipmunk is pretty impressive. I mean, he wakes up every morning and says, I need to collect acorns and berries for the winter. He sets goals for himself and he gets it done.
If he has to make a burrow in a tree stump, that's exactly what he does. He doesn't pause and have a snack and lay around for a few hours.
Out of nearly 40 separate interviews with Americans, 33 told reporters they were very impressed by the chipmunk's continued display of foresight, personal responsibility, and pragmatic decision-making when considering his own future.
He's preparing for winter, he's building a home, and he's trying to get enough nutrients to make it throughout the rest of the day. All this while being worried about maybe getting eaten by a wolf or an owl or something. Earlier this week, the electricity went off in my home because I forgot to pay my bill. It's the second time this year.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The number, if you want to join in, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Joining you tonight, you've got Ian,
Aria, and Conan.
Phones are open, and you can take control of the airwaves here. Always, we bring in things that we think you might find interesting. We're going to start out tonight. Conan, you've got a story about the least stressful states.
Oh, yeah.
In which to, as far as like geographic landmass kind of states, not like body states of least stress, right?
This is one of those articles from Wallet Hub, but they always put these together every couple of months. And what is the state with the happiest residents and or the best workforce? Wallet Hub does.
I'm much more curious about the most stressed out states, because I got to imagine it's California,
New York,
New Jersey, definitely, Connecticut.
Do we get that? Do they have the full-on
They have
list?
the methodology of how they put this together.
But they don't give the full 50?
They did the full 50.
They do. Okay, so we can find out what the most stressed are.
So they used work-related stress, average work hours, average commute time, leisure time, job security, and so on. Also, one of the calipers was money-related stress. So
this all makes sense. I imagine that the less leisure time a person has, the more stressed out they are.
Sure.
Well, unless you're a workaholic and you don't want to be sitting around not doing any twiddling your thumbs. And
workaholics are like stressed out too if they don't unwind. They just are used to being perpetually stressed out.
Well, I guess we also need to determine what. I guess we need to determine good versus bad stress.
Is there good stress?
I mean, going to work can be a kind of a good stress. I mean, you're keeping alive, you're working, you're making money for your family to put the food on the table.
But if you focus on those positive things while you're doing it, are you stressed out? Because it doesn't seem like you would be. It's like, hey, look, I'm going to take care of my family. That's not coming from a place of stress.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, isn't stress always a negative?
In my experience, it would be.
I think there's different levels. I think maybe there's a 1 to 5 level. And yes, I get stressed out going to work and working too many hours, whereas I know some people like it.
Oh, too many hours, though.
Yeah.
Too many for you.
And that's one of the variables on this, too, is the average work hours per week. I don't know what they consider average. 32 hours a week? 40 hours? And what is above average? 60? I've done 60-hour weeks, and I'm not a happy camper.
No.
Whereas one of my coworkers, he's there all the time, and he seems like a real happy guy. He loves being there.
Well, things are different for different people. So your limit is below 60, and his limit presumably is above 60.
My limit's below 20. I'm not going to lie.
So there are, according to WebMD, positive stressors and negative stress. They can be positive or negative depending on the situation. So a positive stressor might be an upcoming wedding, the holidays, or pregnancy. On the other hand,
I still have to disagree with all that. If you're stressed out about all of those things, then you're doing it wrong.
That's true.
Your wedding should be a time of joy and celebration, not a time of stress and misery.
Out.
Yeah,
but this is why I don't go on vacation, because it's so stressful for me. Having to prepare and drive, and there's
just do what I do. Wash all your clothes, leave them in the clothes basket, and then on the day of the vacation, just dump the entire thing in the suitcase, and you're done preparing. That's it. You're ready to go.
There's way more variables that come into play whenever I'm going anywhere. And anyways, I have too much stuff that would be left sitting idle, and including animals and projects. It doesn't sit well with me. I hate leaving.
I think you make a good point on this, though, Aria, that you can't just say a wedding is a positive stressor. It really depends on how you handle that thing. So if you're handling it as though, hey, whatever comes, we're going to have a good time, it doesn't matter.
Well, you're not stressed in that case,
freak out about it. Well, it's still something you have to do, right? Like if you've committed to do this thing, there's going to be some level of you've got deadlines to meet, you've got things that have to get done, but it's how do you handle that? Do you take it on as though it is like this huge task and this huge burden that's causing you to stay up at night, or is it just something that you can just take in stride? So I guess that whether or not it affects you negatively is really more up to you. They do say that negative stress, called distress, can result in full-blown stress response if continuous negative stress can lead to loss of productivity, health problems, and exhaustion.
And I'm thinking that distress could come from the positive stress that they're talking about. If you're always preparing for a wedding for weeks on end, it could really turn into a health issue and or mental breakdown.
And apparently the name for positive stressors are eustress. E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S.
Spell that again?
E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S.
Interesting.
Oh, like borrowing it from euphoria, presumably?
Maybe.
Euphoria and dysphoria.
So these
Eustress
some
and
more
distress.
calibers here on their methodology. Money-related stress, your income, debt, your credit score, bankruptcy, economic confidence. Moving on down.
These are all things they asked the people in the survey about, basically?
I don't think they even did a survey. I think they just looked at the metrics coming out of the states. That's what they do. They collect this data regularly.
I see.
And I think they just put it together. You have family-related stress, so separation, divorce, child care.
This must be a meta-study of other studies that did ask people.
I think that it is.
Okay.
Considering that they're putting one of these out every couple of months, I'm thinking they have all this data on on hand. So you got family stuff, health and safety related stress, mental health, suicide rate.
I can see why all of those are really low in New Hampshire.
Share of how insured the population is.
Do people stress about that?
I don't know.
About being insured?
Yeah.
I guess they do because they're told they have to.
Yeah, and we have a lot of old people in this state, so I mean...
Yeah, I don't care if they're insured or not. That's their problem.
And we don't have to have insurance in this state.
It's true.
Maybe that's part of the metric.
Could be.
The fact that we don't have to have insurance.
Medical or vehicular.
One of the metrics on here is very interesting to me, and supposedly Massachusetts is the top state in the country with psychologists per capita.
Oh, boy.
And they consider that a good thing.
There's nothing about Massachusetts that's a good thing.
No, it is not. And they always seem to be in the top 10 on these lists, too. So take this whole list with a grain of salt. If they're always including Massachusetts at the top, it's like, all right, well, maybe there's nothing to this.
So you're saying Massachusetts is one of the least stressed states?
I think it's in the top 10 on this list. But
top 10 out of 50 is not a good place to be. Right, that's like a C score.
Where is Massachusetts? Massachusetts is the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 43, 43rd. So anyways, with all that information, all these metrics put together, the least stressed out state in the country is Utah.
Huh.
Okay, I believe that though.
Really?
Followed by
all the Mormons, man. They're so chill.
Are they really? I don't know many of them.
I don't personally know that many either, but they don't seem
have
super
to be chill
stressed.
because Trey Parker put that the Mormon
the Book of Mormon
the Book of Mormon together, and no one freaked out about it. No one went up to Trey and slapped him in the mouth because he said something about his religion.
Huh.
So anyways, Utah's at the top of the list, followed by Minnesota.
I don't know anything about Minnesota.
No.
Followed by South Dakota.
Yeah, same.
Closely followed by Wisconsin. And then at number 5, New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. How about that?
So a lot of Midwest states and then New Hampshire.
Yeah, we are the redneck state of New England. That's what they tell me anyways. So so those are the top top 5, the top 5 least stressed out states. The number 1 stressed out state in the country, Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
Followed by Nevada.
Okay.
Which I didn't see that one. Right there at number 2.
With all the prostitution around there, they can take a load off, so to speak.
Another western state, New Mexico.
I believe it. I mean, based on the callers we get from New Mexico.
Yeah.
Those dudes are stressed.
Here's another southern state for you.
Speaking of people who need to take a load off.
West Virginia is at number 4.
Huh.
And Mississippi, number 5.
And those are the most stressed
out. Those are the most stressed out states.
Okay, wow. So we were almost completely wrong, I think, with our predictions. California, New York, etc. There's more on the way here. You can share your thoughts. 603-283-6160. Are you stressed out? And if so, what's causing it? You can share your thoughts with us. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
If you're looking for work, the person you are applying to is probably so swamped with applicants that he or she is tough to reach. So call early in the day, before 8 a.m., before the palace guards arrive. You'll need your prospect's direct number, and here's a sneaky way to get it. Suppose the company's main number is 555-5000. You should call 555-5012. When someone says, "Good morning, Pam Johnson," you should innocently say, "Oops, somebody here must have written this down wrong. I was calling for Tom Frederick. What's his direct number?" If the very next thing you hear isn't Pam giving you Tom's number, it may be, "Good morning, Tom Frederick." For more tips for job seekers and getting better results in all your day-to-day communication, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, the phones are open here. You can join us at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio with you, you've got Ian.
Aria.
And Conan.
Talking about stress, specifically the least stressed and the most stressed states, meaning the people that live within those certain geographic areas. And then maybe some suggestions as to how to relieve that stress.
Yeah.
Get,
let me guess, drugs and alcohol?
Not on the list, no. I mean, certainly that's self-medication is a way that people choose to relieve stress, and whether or not that works for them is another question. I mean, maybe for some people it does, and then other people take it too far and becomes a whole new stressor.
I mean, it's a fair question. Why aren't you and I stressed, right? It seems like if anybody in this room would be stressed, it would be you or me. And I'm not stressed at all. He's probably experienced more stress in the last 3 months than I have. And that's just from going to work and doing his thing.
Well, I mean, neither of us have a job that we have to go to. Like as far
No,
as
but we have an impending federal trial.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, that's the thing. And this is a question that I get from people when they talk to me about, it's like, oh, I can't believe you're so calm. I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Run around freaking out all the time about it? It wouldn't help anything.
It would actually probably stress you out.
Well, yeah,
That's exactly how I am about it. But, that's not what the average person would do. The average person would spend the next 8 months or whatever freaking out about it.
Sure.
Or they would go on a self-destructive binge or whatever.
Yeah, and none of that's going to help you.
All right, well, you have a list of things that will work off the stress. So maybe you two are actually doing some of these.
I'm not allowed to do shrooms.
What is it called? What is it called? Eustress?
Eustress. Those are positive forms of stress. But first, I do want to tell you thank you to David Zintara, who is a Free Talk Live Platinum level supporter of our AMP Patreon. You can join that over at amps.freetalklive.com. AMPS. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. And David's doing way more than what we ask for. We only ask for $5 a month. He's doing $25 a month at least as a Platinum member. So thank you, David, for supporting what we do here and helping us get on new radio stations around the country. So if you like what we do on Free Talk Live and you want to get some cool perks and some benefits for helping us out, then go to amps.freetalklive.com. You can get signed up there for as little as $5 a month. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com. So we went through the top the most stressed states and the least stressed. Go ahead and just give us a quick least stressed rundown again if you have it handy.
Yes, the least stressed, starting at the top, Utah, Minnesota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and number 5 is New Hampshire. And the most stressed out states, according to these metrics that they used, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, West Virginia, and Mississippi at number 5. And those metrics that were being used were work-related stress, money-related stress, family-related stress, and health and safety.
So here's a story from WebMD.com about some 6 suggestions as to what you might possibly could do in your life if you want to reduce some stress. They say 6 tips to unwind, de-stress, and get back in control of your emotional states. We'll see what we think of these. Number 1, identify the sources of stress. Try to figure out what's causing your stress symptoms. Maybe you're overextended, meaning you have too many commitments, and feel fatigued and irritable. Once you identify the sources of stress, try to minimize these as much as possible.
I think just knowing what they are, where your enemy lies, is it helps. Would help a whole lot. I mean, so yeah, minimize and get rid of it if you can, but just knowing that it exists, I think that's a big part in this. Big part of the problem in this country is that a lot of people don't realize who the enemy is, and that's why this last 2 years have gone down the way that they have, because they're not willing to admit, what the actual problem is, and they're allowing it to control their lives when they need to just, pull their heads out of the sand and admit that there's an actual problem and that it exists. And I think that would help out a lot for a lot of you people. And you people, these people exist because they're still driving around. Because they're still driving around alone in their cars with their masks on. What are you afraid of?
Are people still doing that?
They still do.
Yes. Sad to say, but yes.
Dude, that's beyond sad.
And those people must be stressed out, right? Like if they actually believe that there's some sort of a danger to driving around alone in a car with a mask to where they have to wear a mask, or they feel as though that's a necessity, imagine their constant level of fear and the constant level of stress that must provide. If you're under fear, you're under stress.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the same thing as showing up at the job on time or meeting the boss's deadline. It's just a constant level of living with fear, which is always going to be stressing you out. You're never going to know. There's something always around the next corner that's going to kill you. Some kind of disease is out to get you, or whatever.
Yeah, these people are a slave to this fear, and that's how the elites are going to continue to win and rule you through your fear.
New World Order, World Economic Forum.
That's where it is. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. It's been said enough times. I mean, we've been talking about it forever, but I mean, you can't deny that.
Biden was just talking about it. I don't think you were here for that last week.
What did he say?
He said it. He said, so did Bush, and so did Obama, and so did Clinton. They've been saying it forever. So it's, we know that it's not a theory. It's these elites.
That's the plan.
The oligarchs. They want to hold on to their stuff, and they want to control the people around them, which is us peons. So it's no big, it's not a secret that powerful people out there want to rule.
Number 2 on the list of suggestions to de-stress, talk it out. Talk to a friend, family member, or therapist if your stress level is too high. Getting your feelings out without others judging you is crucial to good mental health.
Yeah.
Does that help, though?
That's what it wouldn't help me.
It doesn't help. I don't think it helps any of the 3 in this room.
You have to be able to.
But there are chatterboxes out there who really need to get it off their shoulders, and again, I think that kind of correlates with number 1. It's admitting that there's a problem. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when I have an issue, a problem, I'm trying to figure out a solution to a challenge. Just talking to you guys or talking to someone at work
can help
me come to the answer, create a solution. Just saying it out loud. That makes sense. Saying it out loud is part of the.
Helps you work it out.
Yeah.
I see the problem-solving value in that, but the idea of talking to someone about the things stressing me out or the things bothering me,
it's personal.
Yeah, I would have to trust them at a level that is way beyond what I trust the average person in order to do that. I'm like, I got to tell you, I'm really stressed out. And you want me to open up to someone on that level? I'm just not going to do it.
And that's what I was saying. The 3 of us, nah. But you know what?
I will talk to my cat about it. Maybe.
But we also have this program. We have our own soapbox that we get, just to spew everything. Here we are. We're talking about how we feel, talking about how we think, and so we're getting it out of our system. Not everyone has, this nice option.
Yeah, but we're not sitting around talking about,
our
why
feelings?
We're heartbroken. Yeah.
No,
we're talking about the way we feel, but we're not talking about our feelings. No. And I realize that doesn't make any sense for anyone who hasn't been listening to this segment, but there's a big difference between this is why I don't feel sad, and I feel sad because my dad broke up with my mother when I was 5 years old, or whatever people say.
Reread number 2, Ian. Did it talk about your feelings, or does it say just talk about?
No, it just says talk to a friend, family member, or therapist if your stress level is too high. Oh, getting your feelings out without others judging you is crucial to good mental health. And it's certainly true that humans do need people for the most part.
Yeah.
They do. They're social animals.
We are tribal.
If you're all alone and you have no one with which you can speak, then yeah, being able to talk to somebody could relieve some stress. There's more coming up here. This is Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off. Now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odysee. You can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odysee today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. U.S. officials are skeptical about Kremlin claims that it's planning to scale back some military operations in Ukraine. The U.S. says the world should view Russia's plans as a redeployment, not a withdrawal. Russia earlier said it will avoid a fresh military assault against the Ukrainian capital Kyiv and the northern city of Chernihiv, after negotiations with the Ukrainians in Istanbul today appeared to make some progress. At the White House, President Biden was wary about Moscow's claim.
We'll see. I don't read anything into it until I see what their actions are. We'll see if they follow through on what they're suggesting.
And at the Pentagon, spokesman John Kirby said only a small-scale reduction in forces had occurred so far.
We're seeing a small number now that appears to be moving away from Kyiv. This on the same day that the Russians say they're withdrawing. But we're not prepared to call this a retreat or even a withdrawal. We think that what they probably have in mind is a repositioning to prioritize elsewhere.
With more on the outcome of today's talks between Russian and Ukrainian negotiators and the possible framework for an agreement, FSN's Ollie Barrett in Riga reporting beyond the reach of the Kremlin's restrictions.
Ukraine saying that it will be prepared to go for some kind of neutral status as long as it does have those security guarantees in some form from the international community. And what that would mean is that the Ukrainians are suggesting that they would agree not to join military alliances like NATO, for example. When it comes to Crimea, Ukraine is suggesting a 15-year consultation period on the status of that annexed part of Ukraine, which Russia annexed previously. But that would only come into force in the event of a complete ceasefire inside Ukraine.
In other news today, Democrats on Capitol Hill want answers after finding a 7.5-hour gap in former President Donald Trump's telephone records on the day of the Capitol Hill insurrection by his supporters. FSN's Kate Fisher in our Washington bureau with the details.
There is no record of calls made by the former president during the critical period of the day when his supporters violently surged the building. The gap also stands in contrast to the extensive public reporting about phone conversations he had with his allies during the attack. The report says the House Select Committee is now investigating whether it does have the full record or whether Mr. Trump communicated that day through back channels, phones of aides or personal disposable phones.
Britain's Queen Elizabeth was in London today for the first time this year, attending the memorial service for her late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh. He died last year at the age of 99. Among the 1,800 mourners, representatives of many charities the Duke led and supported. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, phones open, you can join us. What is a good way to relieve stress? We're talking about the least stressed states, but even in those places, people still obviously are more stressed than others. What are your tips? If you're pretty zen, you want to weigh in, feel free to join us here at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're going over a pretty basic list here of suggestions from WebMD. About how to de-stress, unwind, and get back in control of your emotional state. We're on number 3 here. Take time out. Before you reach your breaking point, take time out for solitude. Take time to nurture yourself away from the cares and responsibilities of the world. Find time for inner strength and emotional healing. Now, there's a lot that you can pull out of this, and this could be where, for some people, maybe a little chemical timeout is good for them. Maybe too much is not a good plan. You know, all things in moderation. I think some people are able to de-stress better if they can use some sort of mind-altering substance in a responsible manner. But other people, that might make their life worse. Mm-hmm. So it just depends on who you are and what's right for you. They're kind of also talking about, and they don't come right out and say it here, but meditation. You know, being able to take that kind of time out as well, which is honestly something I don't do as often as I would like to whether it be just as little as 10 minutes in a day, or if you're extreme, doing an hour or something like that. These are things that I think a lot of people would swear by as far as assisting them with de-stressing their life, getting a little focus.
The meditation system that I'm using these days is about 10 minutes a day, and I would recommend it. It's really helpful before going to sleep, but as far as processing, it's supposedly used by the military to help people deal with PTSD and things like that.
To talk to goats?
No, just to fall asleep.
How does it work? What's involved? Because that would be something I would be very interested in.
I'll describe it to you during the break. It's not interesting in a way that would make good radio.
Do you want to drop the name of it?
It's Yoga Nidra, Nidra.
Okay.
And
is yoga and yoga involved?
Not physically.
You're not doing poses?
No.
Okay.
Now, the problem that I have with
But it is
any
about
type of
mindfulness.
meditation is I can't stop thinking.
That is the big challenge.
You should try Yoga Nidra then, because that's always been my issue as well, right?
And that's why I can't fall asleep easily.
But see, this tells you specific things to think about, and damn it, man, you just can't help but think about those things, and it just relaxes you as it happens until
That sounds very interesting. Why can't you tell us on air?
I just did.
But like, what kind of things that make you stop thinking?
It doesn't make you stop thinking. It makes you focus on these particular things to think about. Like
things that are pleasant.
Like the
and
fact
maybe...
that you're lying in the bed. It makes you feel your back against the bed, and then feel each part of your body, your thumbs, and it goes through, and then now feel your forehead. And
these are guided meditations.
Yeah, it's all about focusing on different parts of your body and just taking a brief second out of your day to realize that, hey, I am here, I'm breathing, and it's relaxing, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like a waste of time to me.
Conan,
it's 10 minutes before you go to bed, dude.
I don't have 10 minutes. Right.
Yes, you do. Anybody that says that is just someone who doesn't want to try a thing, because you
I'll
can
try
make
a thing.
10 minutes.
I will.
Anybody can make 10 minutes for it.
Look,
I'll
said
look
the
it up.
same thing.
Yoga Nidra.
I will shoot you the exact thing to listen to before you go to bed. It's on Spotify.
You can't do it on your own. You have to listen to something?
You don't. Well, with meditations, there's guided meditations where you have a I don't know what the word, a guide, somebody who is experienced in doing these things, who will sort of walk you through verbally what you should be focusing on and thinking about or doing or visualizing or whatever. And then there's a non-guided meditation. I don't know if it's like more of a standard meditation where it's just you in a quiet room or with music on, or some sort of background noise to just be quiet too, basically.
See, the point of this is to focus on feeling yourself exist. And if you're instead focused on reminding yourself to feel yourself exist, then you're not focusing on feeling, you're focused on reminding yourself to feel. That's where the guided part comes in.
No one is going to be able to start meditating and instantly be experienced at it. And the biggest challenge for me has always been quieting the mind. I mean, that is not an easy thing to do, especially when you have a lot going on in your life. There's those thoughts just keep coming in, and I think that's your typical newbie's problem when it comes to meditation, and that's probably the most frustrating thing for people.
Do you sleep with the television on?
Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no.
I can't imagine doing that.
Very dark room, a very dark, cold room.
Yeah, people that sleep with TV, I cannot live with somebody like that.
No.
See, I used to, right?
Oh, really?
It's really easy. You hit the sleep button on your television, 30 minutes later, it's off and you're asleep, fine. But that was because I needed that television. I needed that noise, that non-thinking element to just sort of turn my brain off at the end of the night.
That would be the exact opposite of me, because I would be listening to it.
You don't watch something brand new. You watch something that you've seen a lot, that is predictable. It's just comforting, like the first 3 or 4 seasons of Family Guy or the first 10 seasons of South Park. Something that you've seen enough that you don't have to think about. You know what's coming, and it's just relaxing to hear that background noise, and I fall asleep. But
I can't even listen to music and fall asleep.
See, I started out listening
I'll be listening to the music.
Yeah, me too.
I'll be bopping around with it. It's like, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I have tried the solfeggio, the 528 megahertz.
Oh, okay. The tones.
The tones. Yeah. And I even have an old phone and some old speakers set up, and I really like that. That's nice. But
something consistent like that you're not actually actively
listening
it's
more like a hum. It's not. Yeah, it's not. There is no beat.
Yeah, Bonnie turned me on to fan noise as well. So, like, if you don't have an actual fan in your room, you can just go on YouTube, and people have 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour long.
Why not just have an actual fan?
Well, if you don't have one or whatever, and
they're like $6 at Walmart.
And I have it. I don't know if this app is still free. It's another app that I have on an old phone. But it's just all kinds of raindrops on the tin roof, and the ocean waves and the river trickling by. That's
that would
good
drive
stuff.
me crazy, because I need it to predictable. I need it to be predictable, and that's why
the waves are predictable. They're in and out, in and out, in and out,
over and over.
Yes, it's predictable.
Okay.
So these are all, again,
the point I was
different.
getting at, though, was that since I started doing Yoga Nidra, I no longer require the television in order to fall asleep. I just listen to 10 minutes of this, and then I'm like, all right, I know it goes on for 5 more minutes, but I'm done. I'm ready to go to bed.
Number 4 on this list here, set limits. Never hesitate to say no before you take on too many commitments, especially if you're balancing work and family. It's important to prioritize. Saying no can help bring your stress to a manageable level and give you more control over your life.
I love that. People should say no more often.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
One of the problems in the world is that people are hesitant to just say no to something simple because they don't want to disappoint their friend or whatever. So, no, sometimes you just have to say no.
You got too much going on. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can say sorry and no.
Yes.
Be nice about it.
Saying no isn't a mean thing, right? And it shouldn't be interpreted in our society as being a mean thing. It just means no, right? Like, maybe check again later. I don't know, but not right now.
Number 5, try exhaling. And this comes into the whole meditation because a lot of that can be controlling your breath. You say here, breathing can measure and alter your psychological state, making a stressful moment increase or diminish in intensity. Often people who are anxious or upset take shallow breaths and unconsciously hold them. By paying attention to your breathing, particularly exhaling during tense moments, you will feel more relaxed. Buy a bottle of inexpensive bubbles and use it to learn how to exhale slowly.
What?
Breathing from your abdomen, blow through the bubble blower with a steady stream of breath. If you blow too hard or too softly, you won't get any bubbles, but smooth, steady breaths will produce a nice flow of bubbles. Use this breathing technique when you're feeling stressed. I gotta say, I've never heard of that one before.
I haven't either. I mean,
well, have you ever blown bubbles?
As a kid.
I mean, you can't blow too hard, otherwise you'll rip them. And if you go too slow, you won't even create a bubble. So you definitely have to find that middle ground where you're. Yeah. And if you're really trying to, create those big monster whoppers, you've got to have a nice, steady, long. I can see this. I can see it.
It's an interesting idea.
It's genius as a way of, explaining to people how to breathe in order to handle their stress. But it terrifies me to think about adults actually going and buying bottles because I need to learn how to breathe properly.
Yeah, all right, the number here is 603-283-6160. You can join us. Hey, if it works for you, maybe it's worth giving it a try. Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
I told him, look, there is one place we can agree, and that is our belief that the Creator is the most sacred and clean and holy essence we know about. And he goes, yup. And I led him through a bunch of yups. Our hearing, sight, yup. And then I said, and the last thing that I can think of is sacred is our sexuality. You could hear a pin drop. And he had been queer-bashing up a storm. And I simply said to him, folks who think they're having an argument with their neighbor's sexuality, they're actually having an argument with the Creator who made us this way. And that's when he started screaming at me.
Wow.
Because you can't really be a follower of Buddha or Jesus or Moses and be a queer-basher.
Free Talk Live. 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern. Live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, the phones are open here, and you can join us at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Coming up, the haters are on the attack against the Free State Project and the libertarian activism here in New Hampshire. And the reason they're doing that is because, well, we're actually having success. If you are over the target, you're going to take some flack. That's just the way it goes. Here tonight, it's Ian.
Aria.
And Conan.
We are also talking about de-stressing. What are some tips? We're getting a few of them, some real basics from WebMD.com as to what you can do. We've got one more to go on their list of 6. Of course, if you've got some you want to add, because like I said, this is a pretty basic list, you can weigh in here at 603-283-6160. But you can also bring up whatever's on your mind, and that's what Jimmy's going to do, calling us from Missouri, listening online. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yes. Well, I got some kind of sad news. I think Vermin Supreme has become a socialist.
You mean he's become a socialist again?
Yeah, I thought he was always a socialist.
Yeah, this is...
I mean... How's he run for as a libertarian though if he's a socialist?
Well,
there are libertarian socialists. I would disagree, and I would say that those libertarian socialists are just misnaming themselves and that they're really anarcho-communists. But anarcho-communism or libertarian socialism is not necessarily anti-liberty. They can do it in a way that it's voluntary. I just think it's very unlikely that they're going to get 100% voluntary participation.
Vermin Supreme, when he ran in the most recent election, he was running in the Libertarian Party primary. He didn't get the nomination, but he, I think, made like 3rd place or something like that. Anyway, he definitely made himself sound more libertarian than I think a lot of people thought that he would, and were kind of surprised by how libertarian he made himself sound. Because he always did have a real leftist kind of tinge to him. That said, I love the guy. I think he's super entertaining.
I supported him in 2020, and I'll support him again in 2024.
I also supported him in 2020 because he's just so entertaining. And if you're going to put somebody up against Donald Trump, you should put the master troll, Vermin Supreme, up against Donald Trump. It would have been epic, but it didn't happen. So it doesn't surprise me. He did upset a lot of his base by running with the Libertarian Party. The people that normally follow Vermin, a lot of them are from the left. And
I thought they were all libertarians.
No,
wow,
definitely not.
Okay,
he's got a libertarian base and he's got a leftist base. And the leftist base got pissed by the fact that he started to sound more libertarian, and so it wouldn't surprise me if he started to, go back to the old ways of Vermin.
Well, he's been promoting raising the minimum wage to at least $20 an hour. He promoted forcing kids to wear masks in school.
Oh no, yeah, I'd seen that he'd gone masky. That was a shame.
Yeah, he's promoted a lot of stuff.
I promote raising the minimum wage to $1,000 an hour.
just to show the absurdity of it.
Just to kill it off faster.
Well, and
I mean, show how useless it actually is. It just makes everyone equally poor.
Yeah, and the old Vermin Supreme, most of his positions were just pure satire and pure hilarity. But when he's talking about issues like the minimum wage and masking, it sounds like he's gone serious, and that's not what Vermin Supreme is at least in my mind, supposed to do. But
good point.
It's his life. He can do what he wants.
I mean, he's running for Vermin Supreme, right?
Well, it's one of those things where, you know, I was really surprised whenever I started seeing them post all this stuff that was they're memes, but they're memes that promote, you know, socialist ideologies. You know, like he has one where it's a screenshot of Trotsky of the 21st century talking about, you know, the only way to solve our problems is to raise the minimum wage to at least $20 an hour. You know?
Well, we know that's not going to solve anything, because when you raise the minimum wage, you just end up raising the price of everything. And then, of course, a lot of times businesses will cut jobs as a result of that. People will lose work because of that, or they'll cut costs in other areas, and it's just a race to the bottom in that case. But maybe Vermin is preparing for 2024, and he's not going to run with the Libertarian Party this time around. Maybe he's going to throw in with the Green Party, and he's already got it, you know, in mind, and so he's just kind of getting his ducks in a row. I don't know what he's got. He's going to run.
He sounds like the same old Vermin Supreme to me. I mean, I'm looking through his Facebook post right now, and I don't see any directional shift from the very beginnings of when I first learned of Vermin Supreme.
Well, I don't think he would have called for a minimum wage increase when he was running for the Libertarian Party.
I have not stumbled across that yet.
He knows it wouldn't have flown with the Libertarian audience, and that's who he was pandering to at the time.
I mean, what I'm seeing here is stuff like, I beat Madeleine Albright, you know, referring to the fact that she died and he outlived her. I mean, that's
Vermin.
what I'm seeing here.
Yep, that's Vermin.
I'm not seeing anything about raising the minimum wage or supporting that.
But Jimmy sounds like he's been paying attention for a while.
I'm looking at his feed right now. I mean, going back.
I can't find anything.
You better start loving yourself as much as I love you. This is a threat.
Now I was a member. I was following some Vermin Supreme's dank memes page or something. I don't know who was moderating that, and it was getting so commie that I had to back out of there. I can't find the page now. I don't know where it's at. Maybe
Vermin Supreme's dank meme stash.
There's a suppository, Vermin Supreme suppository, and I don't see anything on there.
That's hilarious.
It was, I think, last year that he posted the thing about the Trotsky of the 21st century thing. But I also had possibly a good idea on an actual use for NFTs.
The non-fungible tokens. We talked a lot about them last night. What about them?
Well, I was thinking, you know, how could you patent something without patenting something? And maybe an NFT would be a good way to kind of do it. You know, if you have an idea for a physical thing to make or something, you know, you could put the idea out there on an NFT, and then, you know, it gives you credit saying, hey, this guy came up with this thing, you know.
Yeah, well, blockchain can be used to essentially timestamp a thing. So if you've sold a piece of property and you want to record that, or you get married and you want to record that on the blockchain. I remember years ago we were at a Bitcoin conference in Orlando. I think it was called Coins in the Kingdom. It was a one-off. It never happened again. But Mark and I were there, and they actually had a wedding that was officiated, and somehow, I don't know what blockchain they used, but somehow they marked it on a blockchain as though this happened on this date and between these two people, and there you go. It's immutable at that point. So yeah, you could use a blockchain for that, but you know, whether that would be a NFT, again, when you're dealing with the NFT, we're talking specifically about a token on one of these blockchains, and in theory, the token could be traded. So that's kind of the idea behind the difference between a token and just recording something on the blockchain. The ownership of the token can move, whereas if you just record a thing, it's just a record of that. So I don't know if that's what you're more referring to. Jimmy, anything else you want to share tonight?
I guess that's closer to what I'm referring to. But
yeah, that's a thing. I mean, you can do that.
I just found out, you know, I found out last year about all this stuff that that he was posting that just sounded really socialist. And I was like, well, what in the world's going on? I never knew he was previously kind of the socialist guy. I knew he was left-leaning, but
I mean, he's definitely a leftist, but I'm more than a month back now in his timeline. And obviously you're saying it goes back further than that, but I'm still seeing stuff like if people have a right to own guns, then having a gun cannot be an excuse to shoot them. So it's same old vermin supreme.
Yeah, lots of free ponies.
He posts a lot of things I like and that I agree with, that I think's funny and great, and I think it's funny when he's walking around shirtless in the woods picking berries.
He's hilarious. Thanks for the call tonight, Jimmy. I appreciate hearing from you. The number, if you want to join us here, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Definitely somebody I enjoy watching. Although I did see him going masky within the last couple of years, and I was disappointed.
I didn't see that
happen.
That's disappointing.
So, oh well.
I saw many
perfect.
left-leaning libertarians
go masky.
Oh, yes.
It's definitely a thing.
It was, sadly. A lot of libertarians I know suddenly threw libertarianism out the window. It's like, no, you have to take care of your fellow human beings first and foremost.
Yeah, I heard that, but I don't think any of them said you need to do this. I think they were trying to make an argument for it, but none of them were saying you need to stop what you're doing and put a mask on, which would have been very unlibertarian of them.
The final thing.
I think they said should a lot.
What's the final
thing on the list of de-stressing ideas? Exercise daily. They say that it can increase the secretion of endorphins, naturally produce substances in the brain that induce feeling of peacefulness. Many studies show exercise, along with boosted endorphin levels, really does increase confidence and self-esteem and reduce tension. Exercise also acts as a displacement defense mechanism for those who are stressed out. And that means if you've ever walked for several miles, you know how hard it is to think of your problems when your mind is focused on walking. It's also something they recommend for people that are depressed.
Yeah, that should have been number one on the list, in my opinion.
More coming up. Hour number 2 is on the way. You can join us here on the radio. This is Free Talk Live. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. U.S. officials are skeptical about Kremlin claims that it's planning to scale back some military operations in Ukraine. The U.S. says the world should view Russia's plans as a redeployment, not a withdrawal. Russia earlier said it will avoid a fresh military assault against the Ukrainian capital Kyiv and the northern city of Chernihiv, after negotiations with the Ukrainians in Istanbul today appeared to make some progress. At the White House, President Biden was wary about Moscow's claim.
We'll see. I don't read anything into it until I see what their actions are. We'll see if they follow through on what they're suggesting.
And at the Pentagon, spokesman John Kirby said only a small-scale reduction in forces had occurred so far.
We're seeing a small number now that appears to be moving away from Kyiv. This on the same day that the Russians say they're withdrawing. But we're not prepared to call this a retreat or even a withdrawal. We think that what they probably have in mind is a repositioning to prioritize elsewhere.
With more on the outcome of today's talks between Russian and Ukrainian negotiators and the possible framework for an agreement, FSN's Ollie Barrett in Riga reporting beyond the reach of the Kremlin's restrictions.
Ukraine saying that it will be prepared to go for some kind of neutral status as long as it does have those security guarantees in some form from the international community. And what that would mean is that the Ukrainians are suggesting that they would agree not to join military alliances like NATO, for example. When it comes to Crimea, Ukraine is suggesting a 15-year consultation period on the status of that annexed part of Ukraine, which Russia annexed previously. But that would only come into force in the event of a complete ceasefire inside Ukraine.
In other news today, Democrats on Capitol Hill want answers after finding a 7.5-hour gap in former President Donald Trump's telephone records on the day of the Capitol Hill insurrection by his supporters. FSN's Kate Fisher in our Washington bureau with the details.
There is no record of calls made by the former president during the critical period of the day when his supporters violently surged the building. The gap also stands in contrast to the extensive public reporting about phone conversations he had with his allies during the attack. The report says the House Select Committee is now investigating whether it does have the full record or whether Mr. Trump communicated that day through back channels, phones of aides or personal disposable phones.
Britain's Queen Elizabeth was in London today for the first time this year, attending the memorial service for her late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh. He died last year at the age of 99. Among the 1,800 mourners, representatives of many charities the Duke led and supported. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, an eyewitness account of the bunker from which President Zelensky and his team are leading Ukraine's resistance to Russia's military onslaught. The description comes from Oliver Carroll, a correspondent for The Economist in Kyiv, who was part of a team from the newspaper that secured an interview with the Ukrainian president over the weekend.
It's a very unusual thing to be invited to the compounds, the presidential office. We took a while to get there. The route to the compound is usually about 10 minutes, but because of the way that central Kyiv is now set up, essentially to disorientate any possible enemy group, it took about an hour to get there, and then we arrived basically at this, as they described it themselves, the fortress. Sandbags everywhere. We spent pretty much an hour, in fact a bit more than an hour with the president, and got to see how his operation is set up, and that was probably for me the most interesting part of things, because I mean I've been in presidential and sort of prime ministerial offices before, and Zelensky's operation is much more horizontal. Everyone is sort of doing their own job, and the president sort of lets them get on with that. I think that might be one of the reasons why this war effort is so unusually successful.
He says the Ukrainian president was calm and told The Economist that he is stunned the Russians are not even collecting the bodies of their war dead. Putin, he says, is throwing troops like logs into a train's furnace. The main news again, US officials are dismissing Kremlin claims that it's scaling back some military operations in Ukraine. Democrats on Capitol Hill want answers after finding a 7.5-hour gap in former President Donald Trump's phone records on the day of the Capitol Hill insurrection. And Britain's Queen Elizabeth was at Westminster Abbey today for the memorial service of the Duke of Edinburgh. There's more from us on Twitter at Feature Story, and that is the latest Feature Story news. Simon Marks reporting.
Following today's press conference in which NASA announced its continuing search for a planet capable of supporting NASA, researcher Dr. Kenneth Heiser sat down with Onion reporters to detail their ongoing mission to find a NASA habitable planet.
Our objective is to find a planet capable of nurturing not just life, but also a sustained interest in the exploration of the cosmos. Such a planet would need to have water and proximity to light and heat, but also life forms with even the vaguest understanding of the importance of astronomical exploration. Ultimately, this would need to be a planet with organisms that have a genuine interest in expanding the limits of their knowledge.
Heiser added that any planet capable of supporting NASA would need to be able to generate a steady stream of financing to meet the agency's $18 billion annual budget.
The important thing is we just need to be patient. There's a limitless number of planets in the universe, and eventually we'll find one with the resources to support our work. We just have to, right?
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live, and the phones are open here if you want to join us at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Tonight you've got Ian,
Aria,
and Conan.
So there has been in the news way more hatred directed towards Free Staters. And a Free Stater, for those that are new to the show, is someone who is a libertarian, typically who migrated to New Hampshire, although the Free State Project, I think, now officially just describes it as anyone who's a libertarian in New Hampshire. They've kind of expanded the definition of it, but
that's fair.
But I think it's fair. But it traditionally has been those who have migrated, people who, like the three of us. Although you didn't ever join the Free State Project, Aria, and
That's
technically
correct.
I am not a member.
And I rescinded my
you
name.
also rescinded
back in the
yours.
day.
But we are ultimately all still here because of the Free State Project.
For sure. It was a great idea created by a man who apparently the founder of the Free State Project wouldn't even attend the Liberty Forum this year because he's a masker.
Ooh.
And I guess he didn't.
Shocking
he didn't want to go to
development.
Oh, well.
You know, that which you create can sometimes grow out of what your original view or vision for it was. But it has been a tremendous success. The vision was, let's get 20,000 liberty-minded people, liberty-minded activists, to migrate to one geographic area because libertarians there's just not enough of us in any one place.
Right.
And so what happens if we actually concentrate our numbers in a small, low population state? What happens? Well, we've seen now what happens. This is no longer a pie-in-the-sky concept.
But we have historical statistics on what can happen if a lot of the same type of people move to a state.
Sure, look at the Mormons.
Look at the Mormons. Look at Vermont. The whole state is it's all hippie farmers. And that was back in the 70s?
That's right.
So
made a difference.
There are also the Amish in Pennsylvania. Same basic concept of having a community that essentially is untouchable.
Except Pennsylvania. Yeah, well, there's a portion of Pennsylvania, but if they tried to take over the whole state, that wouldn't work very well.
Well, they would just need more numbers.
But New Hampshire is so small; it's only 1.3 million people.
Correct.
A lot of woods, very small state. I think this is, a lot of the naysayers say it can never work.
It's a hell of a lot better choice than Alaska.
In a week, in a year. It's going to take a little while.
Yep. And now it's coming on 20 years since the Free State Project. Not quite. It'll be 2023. It'll be 20 years since the Free State Project chose New Hampshire as its destination. It was founded in 2001, so it's been around actually for more than 20 years. But the actual destination of New Hampshire was picked out of 10 potential states by the first 5,000 members of the Free State Project. And then finally in 2016, they reached that 20,000 number, which was to officially then what they call trigger the move. Then those people had 5 years in which to move. Now, most of us, except for you, Aria, I think were early movers. Conan, you and I, we moved before they hit the 20,000.
Oh, yeah.
I just sort of accidentally ended up here. In fact, who are you people?
I know, right? We're crazy cultists.
And there's more coming, right? So after 20,000, they took down that number and they just said, come on in. If you're a liberty-loving activist, you should be here. You should be where the number one community is, where we're having the most success of any libertarian migration or any libertarian movement anywhere. And so the best libertarian activists are moving here. I mean, if you actually want to have success, come where the people are having success. Come where there's the largest concentration of libertarians on the planet.
And that's why I joke about how I got here, because I think that's the best sales pitch that the Free State Project has, is here you have this libertarian who didn't even know about the Free State Project and still ended up here because of the Free State Project.
Yep, because there was something created here that just didn't exist anywhere else. And the thing that is happening now, and to be fair, it's been happening for probably at least the last decade, here and there. but it's happening now at a rate, at a clip that is unprecedented. And what I'm talking about is the hatred that is being directed toward the Free Staters.
Mm-hmm.
The hatred, the absolute fear-mongering, negative opinion pieces in newspapers. They've got like seminars that they give now about the Free Staters.
Yeah, I remember that.
They still do them.
Oh,
there was
yeah.
one earlier this year, and probably more than one of them. And so, like, these are just examples. They also recently did another hate mailer campaign where they actually spent money on a direct mailer. That
money is being spent on this campaign.
Thousands of dollars spent to send a direct mailer direct to thousands of homes in New Hampshire to let them know about the dangers of the Free State Project. Now, again, that's not new. They've been doing that for years. But again, all these things are happening now at a much faster rate. And the Free State NH account on Twitter, it seems like it's almost every day that they have an example of some person who's a total statist government, whether they be on the left or they be on the right. It tends to come from the left more often, but there's still some guys that are on the right that are freaking out too.
Yeah, if you were to look at any of the posts concerning the secession from the Union,
I got one right here
that got smashed. If you read those, we have a couple of big newspapers here. Of course, we have our Sentinel here in Keene, and you have the Union and the what's the third one?
Sentinel, the Union Leader. There's a few others.
Anyways,
if you want to shut those people down, ask them if they know that a trans person helped write that legislation.
The posts were sad. There were a couple of liberty-minded people, but most of them were, "How dare you? How dare you? Don't you remember there's a whole war that was caused over this type of nonsense?" And it's like, yeah, and the country was founded on the same principle. And then 100 years later, there was a nasty war fought because some states wanted their sovereignty. So I mean, what are you arguing for?
So they're okay with killing people to make them obey?
Obviously,
Probably,
statists. But I mean, the number, the ratio of pro-state state sympathizers versus the liberty lovers is still something that needs to be considered. There are a lot of government lovers out there, who they don't want to lose whatever it is that we have.
Yeah, they're pissed.
And here we are talking about it like this is a bad relationship. We are being abused by our partner.
Yes.
In most situations, this is where your psychologist says you need to get out of that bad relationship. Right. That's all we're saying. Why are you so stuck? Why are you so stuck in the situation? Get out of it.
Because they're convinced that they would be nothing without their abusive partner.
Yep.
They've bought the...
They're gaslighted.
Yes, they bought the gaslighting.
Oh, the military fought for our freedoms, and what about Social Security?
Also gaslighting.
It's always the same excuses. So here's the latest hit piece. This appeared in the Laconia Daily Sun. That was a newspaper in what they call the Lakes region, sort of the eastern central portion of the state, east of Concord. And the writer is John Decker. CACR 32, an amendment. Oh, it's called Who Are the Free Staters? CACR 32, an amendment calling for New Hampshire's independence from the United States, was shot down on the House floor 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was.
But the libertarian and anti-federalist attitudes behind it are here to stay. The House voted to make the amendment inexpedient to legislate in a 323-13 vote, effectively throttling the bill. Yep. Of the 13 members who voted in favor of CACR 32, which would have put the question of secession to a statewide vote, at least he was correct about that. In a lot of the media coverage, they have completely misstated.
And by the way, what's wrong with that? That's beautiful. It's beautiful.
They're afraid of what
Bring
the people
to a vote. Let the people decide.
He said none were registered as members of the state's Libertarian Party. They were all Republicans. For some Republicans in Belknap County and beyond, this trend is becoming a nuisance and concern as libertarian-minded politicians run under their banner. By the way, if the Republicans and Democrats hadn't made third-party politics so difficult, maybe more of them would actually run as libertarians. If you didn't have to go out and collect over 150 petition signatures to qualify for the ballot as a state rep candidate as a libertarian, and you might be hearing that saying, "Oh, well, that's no big deal." It's harder than you think.
Versus what is it for just Republican or Democrat? It's like a couple bucks.
It's $2 to file it.
Yeah. 100. Anyone out there saying that 150 is nothing?
That's hours of time.
Shut your mouth. That is hard.
Try it and see how it goes. Others see a crop of needed allies that can bolster their numbers, particularly in useful hyperlocal races. We'll get into more of this critique of the Free State Project. And it's coming at it from more of a Republican critique in this particular story. That a lot of these haters are people that are on the left. These people are freaking out on a daily basis.
Believe it or not, Republicans, they hate secession more than the Democrats do.
And that's because we're making an impact here, and they know it. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correia, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. We're talking about the hate being directed against the Free Staters, the fear-mongering.
It's how you know you're winning, Ian.
We've been saying that forever here in Keene.
We have.
Yeah.
But now you can see that some of the movers and shakers over there in the big cities have really caught on.
They're taking the lesson.
They're taking the lesson, and they're touting this. They're displaying it with honor.
Yeah, and that's what they should be doing.
Just like and by the way, a lot of these posts remind me of Defiant L's tweets, where they take the years old tweets from these liberals and they compare them to today's tweet, which it's just a complete 180. It's a complete opposite. It's like what planet are you on? Are you even real? A lot of these tweets coming from these haters here in the state, they remind me so much of Defiant L's. But if you haven't already, I'm sure if you listen to this program, you've seen these tweets.
I love the
comparison
Defiant
tweets.
L's.
They're good stuff.
It's really just spot on. We're going to go back into your phone calls and thoughts, though. I do want to let you know about Bitcoin.com. If you're ready to learn about cryptocurrency, get over to Bitcoin.com. They'll teach you about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and you can get your first cryptocurrency through Bitcoin.com. It's super nice looking site, and you can just click Get Started at the top of the page to begin the process of learning about this technology that is definitely here to stay. So head over to Bitcoin.com and click Get Started at the top of the page. If you are not new to crypto, then you can go to their news site and get the latest news headlines, find out what's going on in the world of cryptocurrency over at news.bitcoin.com. Toby is on the line in Arizona listening to K-Talks. Go ahead, Toby.
Hey, all the fear-mongering, I don't really get it. I mean, we already had the whole fear-mongering, COVID. If you ain't got COVID, you're going to get COVID. If you got the shot, you're not going to get it. Well, I haven't gotten the shot. I've had it one more time. It wasn't really that bad, but everybody else that has the shot are getting it all the time. So I'm thinking, maybe, I don't know, whatever. But I'm also an Army combat vet, and every time I got deployed, I got shot with all kinds of stuff. I have no idea. I got more stuff in my blood right now than I got on being on the floor at a Pink Floyd concert.
Yikes.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, but I had a normal daughter, and she's fine. She's in the Coast Guard now. She's up in Alaska rescuing stupid fishermen, like y'all do up there in New Hampshire and Maine. But, I mean, okay. Say you want to separate your state, which I guess Texas can do it in like 5 regions. California, 3 regions. You got Oregon doing north and south, and some want to be a part of Idaho, and Idaho's kind of, they're like, our tax bracket's going to be screwed now.
Just to clarify, Toby, you're talking about people in existing states that want to divide the state up into multiple states, but stay in the union?
Yeah. Well,
isn't that what Jefferson wants to do?
Out of the union. They want out of the union.
Well, some do and some don't. There's different proposals.
Well, some do and some don't.
Yeah.
But then again, okay, now you got to do the math. Okay, what kind of currency are we going to go on? Are we going to barter? Oh,
no.
The IRS loves
if we're bartering,
barter.
then we're not using a currency.
Number one, the IRS will not be a factor because we'd be leaving the United States. But number two, barter is not an option. However, just letting the market decide, I think, would be the best bet. So there would be no, in the ideal libertarian, if there's going to be a libertarian state, then it should have no official state currency whatsoever and let the people decide.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, can you still use some of the gold coins that you dug out of the creek and got stamped somewhere?
If someone's
willing to take them from you, of course you could.
Well, yeah. See, that's
I paid gold today for some tacos. It was great.
Nice.
Really?
Really?
Get the hell out of here.
No, here in New Hampshire, man.
I paid gold on Sunday. I paid with goldbacks at the local pho noodle place here in downtown Keene, and I even tipped in gold.
I also tipped in gold.
Downtown Keene? My God. Was it let me do that at White River Junction for a couple of cartons of smokes?
You'd have to ask the people in White River Junction. I don't live there. You're talking about in Vermont?
Well, no, what's the other side of the river there? My buddy Carpy.
Lebanon? Lebanon, New Hampshire?
Place over there.
I'm sure
yeah.
there's probably, there are activists in Lebanon, so there's probably at least one place that would be willing to take gold.
You'd be surprised how many places are willing to take it. If you can talk to the owner, there's a lot of people up here that understand that gold is valuable.
Yeah, we had the Goldback people here for Forkfest last year, and in that short, week-long window where they were just going around New Hampshire getting businesses to do this,
there's dozens.
They were immediately successful. Like that day in the town of Lancaster, there was a pizza place taking Goldbacks.
That's amazing.
Wow,
yeah, Toby, that's what happens,
yeah.
man. When thanks for the call tonight. Appreciate it. That's what happens when you actually have a community of activists.
I'm carrying more Goldbacks with me than I am in cash.
Wow, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I love the Goldback. I think it's an amazing invention. Huge fan of it. There's, if you haven't checked them out, go to goldback.com. You can learn more about it. It's an actual tradable amount of gold. The smallest denomination is 1/1000th of an ounce. It's one of the smallest denominations of gold available on the planet.
And you know what I just realized? That makes me way less likely to get robbed.
Why?
There's no real crime here in New Hampshire, but let's say...
Because they don't realize it has value?
Yeah, right.
It's like, what are these trading cards?
Let's say I get mugged and they're like, hand over all your money. I just got these little things. They're like, what is that? Like, just gold cards. They wouldn't take them. They would take the cash.
I don't know. I mean, unless they're idiots.
Have you seen, look up Mark Dice on YouTube sometime. I'm not a fan of Mark Dice, but he does some good stuff. And one of the things he does is he goes around the streets of California offering people, hey, do you want this ounce of silver or do you want this Hershey's chocolate bar? And almost unanimously, they take the Hershey's chocolate bar.
That would be a fun one to do with the Goldback, because then if somebody did take the Goldback, you wouldn't be losing $25 worth of silver. You'd only lose $4 or $5 worth of gold.
I'm down to do it. Let's do it. I promise we get rid of more Hershey's chocolate bars than we do Goldbacks that day.
I would hope that New Hampshire's better.
It may be better in New Hampshire than it is in California, but
yeah.
I still think we're going to need more Hershey's bar than we will Goldbacks.
I mean, it's in the title, Goldback. It's like, of course I'm going to take the gold, whereas the
ounce of silver? It's an ounce of silver. Okay, I'm sold,
Is it in coin form? Does it look like a quarter?
An ounce of silver would likely be in it.
You'd have to watch the video. I don't remember.
So
now.
that's the problem. They think it's just a quarter. They think it's a coin, whereas you get a nice piece of
Goldback.
Who is so stupid that they think a
the
quarter?
Goldback, and the Goldback is... It's a beautiful piece of work.
Who is so stupid that they think a quarter is made out of an ounce of silver?
They don't know.
Exactly. That's why they don't take the gold, and that's why they don't take the silver.
Right. Well, it would be interesting to try that out. See how that.
By the way, that's going to be an interesting future where everyone is digital. You know, what is mugging going to look like in the future?
They take your phone.
Well,
hope it's not encrypted.
Exactly. So your phone is probably being tracked. Everyone knows where you're at because your stupid phone is being tracked. So I mean, if you steal it. You could just turn it off.
Well, they haven't gotten rid of the cash yet, Conan, but yeah,
they want to. They want to. We want to, but the elites want it too. They want their own version.
The number is 603-283-6160. We're going to get back into the hate, the fear-mongering about the Free State Project. That is just every single day in social media or in mainstream media. They are on the attack against the Free Staters, and that's because here the libertarians are actually making an impact. Everywhere else, no one cares what you libertarians are doing. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The United Nations Security Council has held another meeting to discuss the humanitarian situation in Ukraine. A UN representative is due to travel to the region to help establish a humanitarian ceasefire. FSN's Sarah Walton reports from New York.
The Security Council was briefed by the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, which confirmed that 3.9 million people have now fled Ukraine. The World Food Programme also warned that millions of people remaining in the country will soon face serious food insecurity. Aid agencies have managed to get deliveries to nearly 900,000 people, but say ongoing fighting is hampering their efforts. The UN has confirmed the Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs will travel to the region in coming days to work with Ukraine and Russia and help efforts to establish a humanitarian ceasefire. The Security Council has met multiple times in recent weeks to discuss the situation in Ukraine, but is yet to reach consensus on addressing the issue because of major disagreements over the wording of a resolution.
Russia earlier said it will avoid a fresh military attack against the Ukrainian capital Kyiv and the northern city of Chernihiv after negotiations with the Ukrainians in Istanbul appeared to make some progress. U.S. officials are dismissing claims by the Kremlin that it's planning to scale back some military operations in Ukraine, saying the world should view Russia's plans as a redeployment, not a withdrawal. FSN's U.S. correspondent Simon Marks has more.
What all the officials that have briefed reporters here have said over the last few hours is that it's not Russian words that matter anymore, it is Russian actions. And if indeed they do see a meaningful withdrawal by Russian forces and an end to the mortars that have been raining down on Kyiv and the northern city of Chernihiv, the two sites that the Russians intimated today they plan to pull back from, well, that will be facts on the ground that the United States will be able to adjust to.
There were big gains for the U.S. markets Tuesday as traders monitored negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. And it was a good day for COVID-19 vaccine makers following regulatory approval for a fourth shot. FSN's William Denzelo reports.
Wall Street sentiment was given a lift Tuesday as Ukrainian and Russian officials travelled to Turkey for another round of peace talks. The Dow Jones closed the day up 1%, the S&P up 1.2%, and the Nasdaq ended the day up 1.8%. It was a particularly good day of trading for the auto sector, with Ford closing up 6.5%. Tech also performed well. Netflix closed up 3.5%, and Snapchat's parent company Snap ended up 4.5%. Regulators have approved a fourth COVID-19 vaccine dose to people aged 50 and up. Moderna ended the day up over 4% on the news.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. We're talking about some of the latest hate against the Free Staters. A lot of fear-mongering, attack pieces going on within the local media across New Hampshire, but also social media. There's a ton of caterwauling about the Free State Project going on from people who are state reps. Not just state reps, the head of like the Senate on the Democrats side or whatever. Or not the head of the Senate, the head of the Democrats. So like whatever their organization is, they got a chairman or whatever. That guy has been unloading fear and hate regarding
Man, I can't wait to change my registration to Democrat.
It's going to be great.
I'm going to email this guy weekly.
They are.
Like, do I have your support for this office that I want to run for?
They're tweaking and just freaking out constantly. And so Free State NH on Twitter, they take a selection of these when they find them, and they'll share them out. And I've just grabbed a few of them recently. So here's one of them. We're in the midst from an editorial piece from, or I guess it's an opinion piece by John Decker at the Laconia Sun, and this is the newspaper, the big newspaper in the Lakes region. So he's talking about CACR 32, which we spoke a lot about here on Free Talk Live, is the independence ballot measure that would essentially, if it passed the state House and the state Senate by a 60% margin, it would then go on the ballot, and it would have asked the people of New Hampshire whether or not they want to leave the Union peaceably. And it freaked a lot of people out.
What might have been?
It could happen still. It was the first time out. Brody DeShays, quote, I think it's deeply troublesome that there would be elected officials from either party that think this is a reasonable policy goal and would push for such a policy as a final outcome for the state of New Hampshire, he said. He's a Republican, by the way, from Wolfboro.
It wouldn't be the final outcome, right? It would just be the next step in the story of New Hampshire.
Right. But for Brody DeShays, it would be the end because we think he wants to become a federal politician. He's this real young guy. He's, I think, 23 years old, and he's one of the worst Republicans in the state house. He's one of the lowest rated as far as on the Liberty ratings that they give to all the state reps.
Oh, I believe it. He's a complete tool.
He's a total tool. He was the main opponent of CACR 32. He went on to say they've realized that Republicans are the best vehicle to win elections. Local Republican Nancy Leroy said, quote, the Libertarian Party does not have a sufficient following to garner votes, but the Republican Party does. I'm afraid that people are not aware of the people that they're electing. They've not done their homework.
I tried to get people to realize that. What more do they want? She probably voted for me.
Well, she lives in
I want to meet
Lakes
one
region.
person who votes all over the place, all over the ticket, and not just straight ticket. Everyone votes straight ticket.
It's not us.
Not the independents.
We don't even vote.
I vote.
Except for ourselves.
But it's like, do I personally know this person? Probably. I'll vote for them.
Leroy referenced recent Laconia and Belknap County politics as an example. Quote, look at the brouhaha they've made over Gunstock. Sorry, it's that group. We put them there. They're here on the delegation because people just didn't pay attention to what they're doing, or subliminally they wanted it. I find it hard to think that they're speaking for the majority of the people in the city of Laconia when they're talking in Concord and here at the delegation. They have their followers. Look what they've done to the nursing home. You're not going to fund it? That makes no sense to me.
What nursing home?
She's talking about it out in Laconia.
And what was it? Gun what?
Gunstock. It's a state-owned recreational camping ground. And I know a little bit about what they did there because Mike Sylvia is on. He's a Liberty rep. He's actually one of the guys that co-founded or co-sponsored the independence measure. So he's based out of the Lakes region,
right.
Belknap.
So I understand, is Gunstock a play on Woodstock?
Sounds
I
like
don't think so, but I don't know the history of it. Anyway,
so what was done there?
Gunstock is a camping, or it's like a skiing thing during the wintertime, and during the summertime they've got like campsites.
And they probably get state money.
It's a state-run park. So what what Mike Sylvia has done. So when you are a state representative, you also sit on what they call the county delegation. So it's sort of the less talked about set of responsibilities that state reps have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talk a lot about them going to the state house and everything, but we don't really hear much about what they do on the county level, and they do like budgetary things for the county.
God, what a terrible job.
It sucks.
Kudos to the people who are dedicated enough to run for that office.
And as I understand it, they want to sell Gunstock.
Good.
And get rid of it. Put it in private hands.
Sell it to the highest bidder.
And that's what this lady's freaking out
about. And let them
about.
take care of it.
She's flipping about it. For example, on March 11th, Free Stater Ian Underwood motioned to cut the town of Croydon's school district budget in half. Passed. The district is small with approximately 80 students and previously had a budget of $1.7 million. After the cut, that budget is now $800,000.
Awesome.
This is your fantasy.
This is my thing.
You tried this.
I tried this many times.
You tried a 5% cut in Keene, and they laughed us out of the auditorium
because we didn't have 20 more people.
Right.
We could have done it. We could have done exactly what was done in this situation at this school district if we just had another dozen people.
Yep. The decision was praised at a Free State Project meetup at a restaurant in Plymouth in March. Among the attendees was Aubrey Friedman, a Free Stater who moved from what he calls, quote, the People's Republic of San Francisco, unquote, in 2018. This year, Friedman made a run for Newfound School Board in February and lost by 99 votes. Quote, they spend so much money and the results are lousy, Friedman said of the school board, citing unremarkable test scores.
Okay, I thought she was talking about people running for office. I was like, that's not true. The Libertarians winning elections, they're not spending that much money.
That's true. You don't have to spend that much to win a state rep seat here. The Free Stater explained that he initially got involved with the board through his protest of mask mandates and vaccine clinics being set up on school grounds. He said, if it's in the shape it's in 3 years, I'll run again. he said, stating he intends to watch school board meetings and minutes closely. As for the concept of secession, Friedman said he would have voted to support it in principle, but that secession, quote, would never stand a chance in a million years of passing, unquote.
I don't know about that.
Citing the fact that older people would lose their Social Security and by extension their interest in independence, and that the United States would not honor such a motion.
So here's a question for all you Social Security collectors.
Tell them to go to
If
Florida.
you move to another country, you still collect, right?
Yes, you do.
So what would stop you from collecting your money? And by the way, I am more concerned with your government existing in the next couple of years to pay you your Social Security.
Yeah, it's going to run out.
We're not going to get any of it. The three of us.
He says the powers that be are not going to allow that to happen. Even if New Hampshire voted 100% for secession, they're not going to allow it. So I don't think there's been any planning to work out the details because it's not in the cards. Well, they certainly didn't.
That's not how this works, right? You don't work out all of the details about what you're going to do when you leave your abusive relationship.
You just do it.
Is to get out.
Yeah, we talked about this. How do you relieve stress? Number one, you admit that there's a problem, and you try to distance yourself from that situation. This is the number one step.
Yeah, but in some cases, like abusive relationships, you don't have time to analyze and be like, okay, this is the problem, and this is how I'm going to address it. You're like, okay, no, I have to get away from this problem.
Well, sorry, it hurts me to say, Arya, but a lot of situations don't ever end because that thought process doesn't ever go through their head.
No,
except they
right,
think,
because they shouldn't think that far. They should go, this has to end. I have to get away from this problem before I can even begin to think about how to solve it. That's the issue with domestic violence, right?
Except then there's job and house and kids and dog and car.
You solve that crap later.
So the difference here is the people that are in the State House are central planners. The ones that aren't the Free Staters, at least. And that was the big objection from the head of the committee that heard the bill to allow people to vote on secession was, you guys don't have a plan. I like the idea of getting away from the federal government, but you don't have a plan. And so he shot it down, and, the thing died 323 to 13.
Yeah,
ultimately.
but he's delusional, right? This is the same guy who's like, I don't have a government. No one governs me.
Yes, that's the same guy.
Lunatic, man.
And the good news is, this is his last term. He's retiring after this term.
Good.
So somebody else can have a chance
Hopefully
at taking
someone
that
less
seat.
insane.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's the thing is, over time, the more Free Staters move here and get involved in running for office, over time, these oldsters, they're going to go away.
Let me say this. The last year's school board deliberative session, this year's, I think it was like 30 people.
Really?
We just need a couple more. We might just sneak in there. We might just sneak in there next year. We've been off the radar for a couple of years. They've forgotten about us.
We've been away for a few
years. We could sneak back in and we could obliterate the damn budget.
Sneak attack.
Sneak attack.
All right. Well, now they know if they're listening.
They're not listening.
603-283-6160. More coming up here from the fearmongers. It's Free Talk Live.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to MyMagicMud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. MyMagicMud.com, FTL20.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live listen line, 641-793-0191.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Yep, it's Free Talk Live. Phones are open here. You can join us at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're talking about what appears to be a feature-length story. This isn't just your standard opinion piece. This is like a feature-length story in the Laconia Daily Sun, published within the last week by John Decker.
Congrats to the Free State Project for inciting this man to this degree.
Yeah, incredible level of coverage is coming from the people that hate freedom here in New Hampshire. And it's such an indicator of success because, as they say, you don't take flack unless you're over the target. If you're a libertarian anywhere outside of New Hampshire, you know that the media does not care about you. They do not report on you. They don't care about your candidates. When you finally do get one of them on the ballot, you put a ton of work into getting candidates on the ballot, and no one cares.
The current part of the Free Talk Live archives that I'm working on is Ron Paul during his 2007-2008 candidacy, and it's all about how Ron Paul, national candidate, right, completely ignored by the media. And he was one of the most, he wasn't a libertarian candidate, but he was the most libertarian presidential candidate we had ever seen. And he had enormous amounts of energy
remember those
behind
debates. They are all on YouTube, and they are glorious.
He pwned them. At least he got into the debates. Most libertarian candidates, that's because he ran as a Republican. Most libertarian candidates cannot get into a debate to save their life. They can't get invited to an interview. That no one cares. The other side,
the opponents won't even show up.
Yeah, the Republicans and the Democrats, they pretend like you don't exist because, as far as they're concerned, you don't exist. You're not a threat to them. You're not going to win the election. Here, when libertarians run as Democrats or Republicans, these people freak out. And that's part of what this story is where the Republican establishment is saying, oh my God, there's these free staters and they're running and our voters aren't paying any attention.
That's more or less what I was getting at. You know, the media ignored Ron Paul, and he was tremendously successful at doing what he was doing. So just imagine how successful the Free State Project is for the media to not be ignoring us.
Yeah, they can't ignore us. Going on here, they're interviewing a Free Stater, someone named Aubrey Friedman. I think we might have met him the other day, actually. I think he was doing some volunteering outside of the State House for the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. Because it says here he works for Porcupine Realty, and they're one of our sponsors here on Free Talk Live. Mark Warden is the founder there. It's a firm that caters toward libertarian and free stater types looking to migrate to New Hampshire. While exact figures couldn't be provided, Friedman claimed that the last 2 years saw an explosion of those sales. Quote, they come from almost entirely blue states, he explained, with a few exceptions from Alaska and Idaho. Quote, as the mandates and the craziness over the last 2 years, it just pushed more people here. Every time there would be another mandate issued, there's going to be another wave of free staters moving here. We can barely keep up with it.
That's the whole state, though, and it's not just free staters. This state is an escape state.
Sure.
And it makes sense. I mean, it's just we just talked about it's the fifth less stressful state in the union, and we're always on the top of those lists. People know this is a good state to live in.
But his point is Porcupine Realty
has seen an explosion.
Works with almost exclusively free staters, right? And they have had their busiest. I talked to Mark Warden myself about this when I saw him recently at Liberty Forum. His number one year ever was 2021.
I believe it.
While some Republicans have expressed distaste at free staters running under their name, others see a potential ally. Linda Molinaro, treasurer of the Plymouth Area Republican Committee, attended the Free Stater meetup. She said that her group is more concerned about so-called rhinos, Republicans in name only, than they are about free staters. By the way, I've got a whole other newspaper letter to the editor by a Republican who's claiming that the free staters are the rhinos. So
what?
Well, things.
Well, that's true.
Well, that's true.
If you've got a Democrat in front of you, you know what you got, Molinaro asserted. If you have someone like Chuck Morse, to me, he's a rhino because Sununu, that's the governor, by the way, is a rhino.
Who is a rhino.
And he's in bed with him. He talked him into running, unquote. By teaming up with free staters, many of whom hold overlapping views with Republicans, Molinaro hopes it can boost Republican strength in local politics. And look, the reality of it is, if this Republican Party out in the Lakes region is anything like the one here in Keene,
it's non-existent.
It's old. It exists.
Yeah.
But it is average age 65. I mean, we walked in there. We decided we were going to get involved in the local Republican Party in Keene because we knew how weak they were. And we walked in there and they were just falling all over themselves like, oh my God, someone under the age of 60.
Fresh blood.
Yeah.
Young blood.
Ultimately, they ended up booting us out of the Republican Party.
Too radical.
Well, they didn't say that. They used a technical excuse. They said, we didn't do the election when we were supposed to by the bylaws or whatever. Even though we were following the bylaws, they said our bylaws weren't according to the state. It was a stupid political thing. But I'm planning on going to their meeting, the county meeting this Saturday to get back into it because after the raid happened, I dropped out for a while, understandably. But anyway,
I'm not going to go to that one.
No, you're actually talking about doing a party change, which is interesting. But back to the story here. So, quote, it seems like the Democrats are way more organized than the Republicans are, said the Republican. They organize and get people to the meetings. Even though we got a ton of signatures, no one shows up.
How does it come to that? If the Free State Project is part of the Republicans, then the Republicans are almost by definition more organized than the Democrats. The Free State Project came in, took control of your political apparatus, started running for office, and got a constitutional amendment to secede.
What she's saying here is that their current party is still so weak that they still can't get people to show up to the meetings. So that means there's an opportunity for more free staters to come in there and take it over even further. For new arrival Alex Lemp, who also attended the meetup, the ability to participate in local politics was essential to his decision to relocate from New York in 2021. He said, being in New York, I felt my politics couldn't do anything. Here, I feel there's more of a chance to make a difference. Unquote. The ability to access local political power is a keystone in the strategy of the Free State Project, a nonprofit organization started in 2001 with the goal of inviting more libertarians to move to New Hampshire. The movement's website claims that the Free State Project is not a political action organization and does not endorse or oppose legislation. Carla Garrick, who's the president...
It would be better if it did. I mean, they would lose their 501c3 status.
It would look ugly, though, because then they would end up endorsing one free stater over another, and then they're going to split people on that. And I don't think
they've never been divisive in the past.
If they decided on a political affiliation, would Furman Supreme be allowed in our big tent?
Yeah, they don't have to decide on a political affiliation.
I think they do enough. I think the Free State Project should do what they do, and that is advertise New Hampshire to libertarians outside of New Hampshire, run a couple of events every year to bring them in, like the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which, by the way, I heard on their Free State Live show that they do on Mondays, that the Porcupine Freedom Festival is now actually technically sold out. They're still selling tickets, but they're actually over the amount that they had planned to sell. So they had planned for 2,500 and they're sold over 2,700 at this point.
It sounds like they should stop because facilities were strained last year.
They're trying to figure out where to stop. They don't want to stop, but
dude, just open up for donations or tell people to go to Fork Fest instead and donate money to you if they want. But
they're going to cut it off soon.
Yeah, please don't overload the campground again.
The campground can, in theory, hold like 3,000 people.
But the facilities won't support it.
So Carla Garrick, she's the president emeritus of the Free State Project, interviewed for this story, says, quote, "Its only mission is to bring liberty lovers to the state of New Hampshire. Once people are here, they do all kinds of stuff. I think there's confusion. It's not all Free Staters that are into independence." DeShays, again, this is the anti-independence
The article
Republican.
seems pretty fair so far.
DeShays says the Free State Project is not a monolith. There are Free Staters that are in the House that are productive and vote against the Free State from time to time. So you're only productive, if you, in this guy's mind, if you vote against freedom. And he's a Republican. While not all Free Staters are pro-secession, Garrick sees an independent New Hampshire as a viable and desirable goal. She said, quote, "If it was an independent country, it would be 4 times the size of Iceland by population. For me personally, I don't see much hope left with the federal government. I feel like they're pushing us into unconstitutional wars, decimating our economy. I think New Hampshire and Granite Staters would be better off without the yoke of the federal government around our necks."
Well said, Carla.
True that.
The FSP traces its roots to the writings of founder Jason Sorens, a political scientist and director of the Center for Ethics and Society at St. Anselm College. Sorens wrote an essay in 2001 saying, quote, "Hey, libertarians don't have success anywhere because we're geographically dispersed. What would happen if we were in one spot?" explained Garrick. The essay called for people seeking smaller government to flock to the state of New Hampshire. It's actually not true. There was a vote on the different states, and New Hampshire won. In his initial essay, he estimated that 20,000 such people moving to New Hampshire would be enough to seize some form of control over state government so that more libertarian principles could be implemented across the state. The FSP had a quota of 20,000 pledges, meaning people could sign the pledge that they would move to the Granite State within 5 years. The FSP website estimates that 19,988 people have signed the pledge, and that there are over, that's a weird number, it definitely hit 20,000 in 2016, so maybe there have been 12 people who've rescinded their membership since then. But they've had more signers since then, so I don't know where that number came from. And that there are over 6,000 Free Staters currently in New Hampshire, and that 45 of them have been elected as state representatives. There's more on the way here. We'll share your thoughts also, are welcome, on the Free State Project and the activists migrating to New Hampshire and stirring it up. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The United Nations Security Council has held another meeting to discuss the humanitarian situation in Ukraine. A UN representative is due to travel to the region to help establish a humanitarian ceasefire. FSN's Sarah Walton reports from New York.
The Security Council was briefed by the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, which confirmed that 3.9 million people have now fled Ukraine. The World Food Programme also warned that millions of people remaining in the country will soon face serious food insecurity. Aid agencies have managed to get deliveries to nearly 900,000 people, but say ongoing fighting is hampering their efforts. The UN has confirmed the Under-Secretary-General for Humanitarian Affairs will travel to the region in coming days to work with Ukraine and Russia and help efforts to establish a humanitarian ceasefire. The Security Council has met multiple times in recent weeks to discuss the situation in Ukraine, but is yet to reach consensus on addressing the issue because of major disagreements over the wording of a resolution.
Russia earlier said it will avoid a fresh military attack against the Ukrainian capital Kyiv and the northern city of Chernihiv after negotiations with the Ukrainians in Istanbul appeared to make some progress. U.S. officials are dismissing claims by the Kremlin that it's planning to scale back some military operations in Ukraine, saying the world should view Russia's plans as a redeployment, not a withdrawal. FSN's U.S. correspondent Simon Marks has more.
What all the officials that have briefed reporters here have said over the last few hours is that it's not Russian words that matter anymore, it is Russian actions. And if indeed they do see a meaningful withdrawal by Russian forces and an end to the mortars that have been raining down on Kyiv and the northern city of Chernihiv, the two sites that the Russians intimated today they plan to pull back from, well, that will be facts on the ground that the United States will be able to adjust to.
There were big gains for the U.S. markets Tuesday as traders monitored negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. And it was a good day for COVID-19 vaccine makers following regulatory approval for a fourth shot. FSN's William Denzelo reports.
Wall Street sentiment was given a lift Tuesday as Ukrainian and Russian officials travelled to Turkey for another round of peace talks. The Dow Jones closed the day up 1%, the S&P up 1.2%, and the Nasdaq ended the day up 1.8%. It was a particularly good day of trading for the auto sector, with Ford closing up 6.5%. Tech also performed well. Netflix closed up 3.5%, and Snapchat's parent company Snap ended up 4.5%. Regulators have approved a fourth COVID-19 vaccine dose to people aged 50 and up. Moderna ended the day up over 4% on the news.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, an eyewitness account of the bunker from which President Zelensky and his team are leading Ukraine's resistance to Russia's military onslaught. The description comes from Oliver Carroll, a correspondent for The Economist in Kyiv, who was part of a team from the newspaper that secured an interview with the Ukrainian president over the weekend.
It's a very unusual thing to be invited to the compound, the presidential office. We took a while to get there. The route to the compound is usually about 10 minutes, but because of the way that central Kyiv is now set up, essentially to disorientate any possible enemy group, it took about an hour to get there, and then we arrived basically at this, as they described it themselves, the fortress. Sandbags everywhere. We spent pretty much an hour, in fact a bit more than an hour with the president, and got to see how his operation is set up, and that was probably for me the most interesting part of things, because I mean I've been in presidential and sort of prime ministerial offices before. And Zelensky's operation is much more horizontal. Everyone is sort of doing their own job, and the president sort of lets them get on with that. I think that might be one of the reasons why this war effort is so unusually successful.
He says the Ukrainian president was calm and told The Economist that he is stunned. The Russians are not even collecting the bodies of their war dead. Putin, he says, is throwing troops like logs into a train's furnace. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. The United Nations Security Council holds another meeting to discuss the humanitarian situation in Ukraine. U.S. officials dismiss Kremlin claims that it's planning to scale back military operations in Ukraine, saying it should be viewed as a redeployment, not a withdrawal. And big gains for U.S. markets as traders monitor the negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. That is the latest Feature Story News. Ira Spitzer reporting.
Following reports that local full-blown alcoholic Ken Matheson has such great friends that let him drink himself to death right before their eyes, the 32-year-old man spoke to reporters during a typical evening of binging with his closest friends.
Man, these guys are like brothers to me. I don't know what I'd do without them.
The chemically dependent man, who can reportedly always count on his friends to look the other way, facilitate belligerent behavior, and encourage his self-destructive impulses, informed reporters that the members of his tight-knit circle are, quote, the best buddies a guy could ask for.
Can you just shut the fuck up? Seriously. Just shut the fuck up. I lost back then. Keep going. What the fuck are you looking at? I love you, man. I love you.
Check this week's Onion Review for further developments.
I love you. Oh, God, I love everybody.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour of the program here. The phones are open. If you want to join the show, you can. The number is 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Aria,
and Conan. 603-283-6160. We're talking about some of the haters in New Hampshire that are on the attack against the Free State Project. Now, the Laconia Daily Sun story that we've got actually appears to be a news story. They're actually interviewing both sides. They got the people that don't like the Free State Project.
It's almost like it came from, Russia Today in its fairness and its evenness.
So we'll finish that one up, and then I've got some actual opinion pieces that are pretty nasty that we can share as well. So we're going to go back to your phone calls first, though. Somebody who spends a lot of time in New Hampshire, but every now and then goes to visit his family in Colorado. Dave Ridley calling from Colorado, one of the earliest movers for the Free State Project. Welcome to Free Talk Live. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, guys. You know much about what happened to George Orwell when he tried to help the Spanish Republicans, during the Spanish Civil War?
No, I don't. No.
So he was, he went and, he served in a trench for like 6 months or something like that, got shot in the neck and everything. He was, recuperated in Barcelona. And one day the Spanish Republicans put out a hit on him. Put a bounty on his head or something like that, because he was part of a Spanish Republican faction that a different Spanish Republican faction didn't like. And it was like, man, this is a disaster. I'm getting out of here. Why did I do this?
Was this before or after his writing of 1984?
This is part of what inspired his writing of both 1984 and Animal Farm. Yeah. So that didn't happen to me exactly, but I know a little bit about how he felt. It only took me about 2 weeks. I think I've, done more for the Defend Ukraine movement than 95% of Americans have. But it only took me about 2 weeks to get disabused of helping them politically for several reasons.
What? Who is the only people I see being abused are the people who are anti-Ukraine and pro-Russia. You're saying you've gotten hate for being pro-Ukraine?
No, well, sort of, yeah. I guess I'm not purely pro-Ukraine enough, but not anti-Russian enough, I guess.
Okay, I can see that.
So, now, a lot of these people were very nice, and they're still very nice to me. I'm not saying this is everybody, but there was enough people, just in a very short period of time, who got hostile towards me. And and it was because the name of my protest when I scheduled the Colorado Springs first protest against the Russian invasion. It was all over the news, and I organized it, to the extent that one can organize a protest.
Yeah.
And the people who came were nice, but a lot of people boycotted it because I called it a protest in support of Russian dissidents. That's not the exact wording. It was more like it was in support of anti-war protesters in Russia, I think is how I put it.
And the people who protested you were upset simply because they hate all Russians, basically?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Now, they didn't show up at all. They didn't show up to protest for or against.
Well, that's the thing. These people are not anti-war. They're in favor of war, just against the people they don't like.
And
let's be clear: the people who they've been told not to like.
That's right.
Because how many Russians do you actually know? Can you? And,
I know a few, but
I hate to use the meme, but can you even point to Ukraine on a map? Because I don't think you can.
Well, I can. But
I know you can. I'm sorry. I'm looking straight at you when I said that. But a lot of you listening probably couldn't point to Ukraine on a map. I'm sorry. It's just I'm using the Tucker Carlson meme or whatever, whoever said it, but it's the truth. You probably don't know any Russians either.
I know both Russians, and I can point to Ukraine on a map.
Go ahead, Ridley.
It wouldn't be fair for me to blame the whole Defend Ukraine movement for what part of it is doing. But the problem is that it seems like the rest of them, even the nice folks, they seem to all be no-fly zone people, as best I can. I haven't found anyone yet
and sanctions.
who's not in favor. And okay, a no-fly zone, that means it's probably a 20% chance of destroying the entire world, ultimately, because the Americans would have to start attacking Russia inside Russia. So that's insanity of the first magnitude, and I don't want to be part of that, right? I just want the Russians to leave Ukraine, and I'm okay with some Ukrainian warfare against Russia.
Actually, news today, they might actually be backing out. There's speculation as to why.
Well, there's peace talks going on.
The peace talks have been going on for weeks, but there are troops, according to the legacy media, are being pulled back from Kiev.
According to the Russian media, RT.com reporting that they are reducing their military activity near Kyiv and Chernigov as talks with Ukraine enter what they consider to be a, quote, practical stage.
Maybe Putin is finally getting his demands met.
And look, man, I don't know.
His three main demands, that maybe they're being met.
I don't know why Russia invaded Ukraine. I know what they're saying. The Ukrainian government was basically, rounding up people, killing them, torturing them, or whatever. I will say, though, that, we heard about these things going on in 1940s Germany, and the world just ignored them. They're like, there's no way that's actually happening. That's fake news. That's just propaganda being put forward by anti-Germans. We don't know what's going on here. We'll probably never actually know whether or not the Ukrainians are actually killing people, whether or not they actually have a substantial number of Nazis in their units, or whether the Russians are in the right or the Ukrainians are in the right.
You are correct. We will never know someone will win. And they will write the textbooks that will teach our children what actually happened.
But because of all of this,
but we know that's probably not what happened.
Because of all this uncertainty, I'm not going to be like, look, I stand with Ukraine or I stand with Russia.
I don't stand with any state at all. If there's any side to take in this, it's the pro-peace side. And the pro-peace side, in my opinion, is to say, if the people of the Donbass area want to leave Ukraine, they should be able to without being shelled to death by the people.
Which is one of the demands.
In Ukraine.
But we don't know if they're actually being shelled.
Well. The guy that was
we have lots of
the guy that was here last week said Laser, who is Alu Axelman's brother, was on the show. He actually spent the last 2 years over there working for a diplomatic agency that's job was to kind of observe what was going on. And he said the shellings were actually going back and forth. So he said the Donbass would get shelled and then they'd shell back the rest of Ukraine.
And then we also have Crimea to think about. They have been going through their own struggle for many years now.
So again, I still favor a Ukrainian victory of some sort, but the last problem, and it's really concerning, is the Ukrainian president is advocating for basically destroying the world by demanding a no-fly zone.
How do you draw the connection between a no-fly zone over Ukraine and destroying the world?
Because once you do that, the United States is in direct military conflict with Russia, something that's actually never happened before. So that would mean about a 20% chance that it goes all the way to a full-blown nuclear exchange.
The idea would be that if a no-fly zone is implemented, then would it be NATO who would be enforcing it? And then if a Russian plane accidentally or whatever flies into the no-fly zone, they shoot it down, and now it's an international conflict, right? That's the idea?
They have to actually hit Russian missile sites inside Russia for this to work. Does that make sense? Because missile ranges are so... The NATO.
How do the missile ranges factor into the no-fly zone?
So, wait. So they can't just shoot a plane down? That wouldn't count as an act of war?
If the United States wanted to enforce a no-fly zone over Ukraine, logistically that requires attacking targets inside Russia, because Russian targets their missiles can reach far inside Ukraine.
Does a no-fly zone include missiles being fired into the territory? I thought it just meant like airliners and airplanes and jets and stuff.
No. This is stopping the Russians from bombing Ukraine, which means bombing Russia, essentially.
No, it's creating a no-fly zone, preventing anyone from flying over. It's not going to stop missiles from being launched into their territory.
Yeah, as I understood the no-fly zone, they would then expect Russia to violate the no-fly zone by continuing their bombing raids with their airplanes, which would violate the no-fly zone, bringing NATO into play and causing an international conflict. But
that would be my understanding.
That's what I have read about it. But again, Ridley, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. But calling in, interesting point here that these people that are the pro-Ukraine people, these are not anti-war people. These people are calling for more conflict. They want more violence. Thank you for the call. There's more coming up here. The number is 603-283-6160. We got time for you if you want to join the show. More of the anti-free state hate on the way as well. This is Free Talk Live. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Fork Fest takes place the week after PorcFest, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. forkfest.party. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. The phones are open. If you want to join us here, number for you, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Ian, Aria, and Conan in the studio tonight. You can join our social media platform, which is available for you over at social.freetalklive.com. You can head on over there and enjoy the various interactions you can have with other Free Talk Live listeners and some of the hosts of the show.
To clear up that last conversation with Ridley, we were talking about the no-fly zone. Yeah. Zelensky has been asking/demanding for a no-fly zone over Ukraine.
Correct.
I thought, with the way that the Ridley brought that question up, I thought that he was demanding something over Russia, which would be very confusing. Which would not allow Russia to even fly their own planes around. But no, I know Zelensky's been asking for a Ukrainian no-fly zone. I don't know that he's also been asking for something over top of Russia. But here's the problem with that. I don't know how many planes Russia's even flying over Ukraine. They say they've shot a couple of them down. I don't know that that's actually true. What is actually true? I do know is that they're right there. They have long-range missiles. They don't have to get in a plane and fly them over there. They can just fire them from their side of the border and just hit whatever target they want. They could probably hit Britain if they wanted to.
There has to be some sort of advantage. I mean, there's some reason that the United States is sending fighter jets into Iraq or whatever instead of just launching a bunch of ICBMs.
From the ocean or whatever.
Yeah. There's bound to be some advantage that Russia would have to actually use jets.
Well, if you want to weigh in on this question, you're welcome to join us here. Oh, and I was just about to get to Sarah, and she dropped off the line. Let's talk to Dave.
So too bad.
Dave in Michigan, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening. Somebody's got to be back up, right?
All right, what's on your mind, Dave?
Well, that's just what I'm talking about is Ukraine.
Yeah.
Do we know what's going on, actually? And as far as covering Russian airspace, but a second that they would fly into Ukrainian airspace, if we were to impose a no-fly zone, boom, the Russian jets down. Now, how is that going to be reacted to by Putin and his generals? But I think that
I'm not a fan of states and nations, but if Zelensky wants there to be a no-fly zone over Ukraine, then that's up to the Ukrainian military to impose.
Right. I don't think they have the number of fighters and bombers and, other weaponry to really do it themselves. And right now, I don't think the United States is in a position to do it.
And nor should
they. And that includes shipping them weapons and planes and other pieces of equipment, which we shouldn't be doing either.
Well, supposedly NATO has been doing that.
Hell yeah, they have. We know that they have. We don't. Well, what do we really know exactly?
Yeah.
But I know that they have a lot of NATO weapons in there.
Sure.
For sure. I mean,
in the hands of the Nazis now, by the way, because there's Nazis in the Ukrainian Defense Force. The liberals who are supporting Ukraine don't seem to care.
Nope.
Because these are the good Nazis.
These are the good Nazis.
Oh, of course. And it reminds me of what just happened in Afghanistan, leaving, $50 billion worth of military equipment. Let's say all this equipment's over there in Ukraine, and Russia says, oh, look what we have now. But what really makes me the most upset, guys, is this. How ruthless that Russia has been killing civilians and bombing the heck, almost said the word, the heck out of
You can say hell, it's
civilian
okay.
targets.
Well, that's what they're telling us. And right now they're telling us that he's backing out. So I mean, what can we believe? This is straight wag the dog, man. If anyone's never seen that movie, stop what you're doing and watch it. I mean, here we have a Ukrainian president, an actor, a comedian what did he do? What was his acting role? He played the president of Ukraine. He gets into office.
Way.
He gets into office. Soros.
No.
He gets into
that
office.
can't be true.
It's on Netflix, isn't it?
Somebody.
Hold on. That's up there with the level of NORAD just happened to be doing drills on the day of 9/11 about what would happen if there were some hijackings level of insanity.
This is even worse. This is even worse.
No, there's no way it could be worse than that. It's equally as bad. Right.
This is more in your face. This is more blatant and in your face that they chose an actor.
Zelensky was an actor who played a Ukrainian. What happened in this movie where he was the Ukrainian president? I swear to God, Conan,
he was like a teacher. He was like a teacher
by the Soviets.
He was like a teacher, and he went on this rant about government corruption, and he decided to run, and they elected him, and he was president.
According to the story here at CBS News, Netflix is bringing it back.
Oh God,
they're bringing back the show that he starred in,
and they're probably already working on a documentary with him right now. Sean Penn is already went over to interview him. Oh, I'm sorry, he probably went over to Poland because Zelensky is probably not even anywhere near Ukraine.
Before assuming office in 2019, Zelensky starred in Servant of the People, a show about a Ukrainian schoolteacher who becomes president. The show began in 2015 and ran for 3 seasons, with the last airing in 2019, and then he became the president.
And
so what happened during the course of this show, right? That's my question. There has to be some sort of conflict. What was the central conflict?
I don't know. We're going to get a chance to watch it, though, pretty soon.
I'm not watching this garbage.
I'm going to have to watch it just for...
It's probably in Ukrainian.
Well, they probably have an English dub.
I grew up watching foreign films. I can watch it. I can watch subtitles.
Ian. Dave, go ahead.
Ian?
Yep.
Hey, listen, thanks for taking my call, and I'm signing out from Jackson, Michigan.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate hearing from you tonight.
Still listening close.
Appreciate it. The number is 603-283-6160. In Servant of the People, high school teacher Vasily Petrovich Goloborodoko, played by Zelensky, goes on a tirade against government corruption. The tirade goes viral on social media, and he finds himself the country's new president. In real life, he ran on a similar platform, using the show's name. Of
course he did.
Using the show's name as his party's name. He ended up defeating the former Ukrainian president Petro Poroshenko in a runoff in 2019 with more than 70%.
With the help of the CIA.
With the help of Soros.
70%.
Soros got this guy elected.
Also the CIA.
Well, it was the other guy that apparently got put in by the CIA.
CIA was all 2014 Donbass, color revolution with Soros' help.
Before his presidency, Zelensky had a long career as an entertainer, even winning his country's version of Dancing with the Stars in 2006.
And does it mention that once he got into office, he brought over 2 of his movies, brought over 2 of his movies producers to work with him?
No, well, you mentioned that, but no, I don't think it doesn't mention that here.
This guy's a total puppet.
Let's talk to Sarah in New Mexico. She's back. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, yes, I just took a little break.
You sound like you went around running.
Working hard.
You take a little jog? You went on a run?
No, I was just laying down, so I had to sit up, so I was huffing a little bit.
Damn, you need to get some exercise.
That's called a sit-up.
Yeah.
You should be able to do at least 20 of those, Sarah.
Well, I'm all in favor of the taxing the super wealthy billionaires. I'm sure that, I know that out of this, I'm going to get a bigger rebate check after it gets redistributed. Instead of getting $350, I might be getting $650 a month.
You're saying if they tax the billionaires harder?
Right, that's the plan. Is it that?
All right, I want to hear more about this.
1%?
Hang on, Sarah. We're gonna bring you back. We'll continue the discussion here because there's actually, I think, a proposal that Biden is making or whatever.
The communists want it. They want to tax the rich because that's their plan for everything.
Yeah, we'll get into it with Sarah coming up here, and your thoughts are welcome as well at 603-283-6160. You can join us here on Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The United Nations Security Council has held another meeting to discuss the humanitarian situation in Ukraine. A UN representative is due to travel to the region to help establish a humanitarian ceasefire. FSN's Sarah Walton reports from New York.
The Security Council was briefed by the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, which confirmed that 3.9 million people have now fled Ukraine. The World Food Programme also warned that millions of people remaining in the country will soon face serious food insecurity. Aid agencies have managed to get deliveries to nearly 900,000 people, but say ongoing fighting is hampering their efforts. The UN has confirmed the Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs will travel to the region in coming days to work with Ukraine and Russia and help efforts to establish a humanitarian ceasefire. The Security Council has met multiple times in recent weeks to discuss the situation in Ukraine, but is yet to reach consensus on addressing the issue because of major disagreements over the wording of a resolution.
Russia earlier said it will avoid a fresh military attack against the Ukrainian capital Kyiv and the northern city of Chernihiv after negotiations with the Ukrainians in Istanbul appeared to make some progress. U.S. officials are dismissing claims by the Kremlin that it's planning to scale back some military operations in Ukraine, saying the world should view Russia's plans as a redeployment, not a withdrawal. FSN's U.S. correspondent Simon Marks has more.
What all the officials that have briefed reporters here have said over the last few hours is that it's not Russian words that matter anymore, it is Russian actions. And if indeed they do see a meaningful withdrawal by Russian forces and an end to the mortars that have been raining down on Kyiv and the northern city of Chernihiv, the two sites that the Russians intimated today they plan to pull back from, well, that will be facts on the ground that the United States will be able to adjust to.
There were big gains for the U.S. markets Tuesday as traders monitored negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. And it was a good day for COVID-19 vaccine makers following regulatory approval for a fourth shot. FSN's William Denzelo reports.
Wall Street sentiment was given a lift Tuesday as Ukrainian and Russian officials travelled to Turkey for another round of peace talks. The Dow Jones closed the day up 1%, the S&P up 1.2%, and the Nasdaq ended the day up 1.8%. It was a particularly good day of trading for the auto sector, with Ford closing up 6.5%. Tech also performed well. Netflix closed up 3.5%, and Snapchat's parent company Snap ended up 4.5%. Regulators have approved a fourth COVID-19 vaccine dose to people aged 50 and up. Moderna ended the day up over 4% on the news.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And in the studio with you, it's Ian.
Aria.
And Conan. So apparently, Netflix is bringing back the President Zelensky comedy
Correct.
show.
Yes, it's called Servant of the People.
And I'll watch it for homework purposes. I don't know. I can't promise that I'm not wanting to watch it because I have opinions. But Arya,
it might be funny. It's supposed to be a
I am not
comedy.
going to watch it. I mean, it's just...
Arya has brought up an even better idea. So we got Musk. He's already producing. Musk is already pre-producing the trans Russian who gets in a relationship with a black Ukrainian, and it's kind of a Romeo Juliet
Love
thing.
story. Mm-hmm.
I'll probably watch that too, but only because Musk is doing it. Musk is a super troll.
He's doing
but Arya,
he's doing that backwards though. The Russian can't be trans.
Is it backwards?
Yeah, the Russian
because you get killed for being trans.
The trans person would get killed in Russia.
What about a black Russian? Is that possible?
You might not make it in Ukraine either.
I know it's a drink, but can you have a black Russian?
You're more likely to have a black Russian than you are a trans Russian.
Okay, so it's backwards. So we need to send him that memo to let him know that he doesn't unless he's trying to. He's a troll. So I mean, this is total Musk trollness.
But you got to be a good troll. You have to have some finesse,
pretty good.
some class. You can't just...
I'll watch that, but I want to watch your Netflix adaptation of the current goings on. Would you please? Would you be willing to tell the audience, or are you afraid someone would rip it off? Or maybe we want someone to rip it off because you don't have enough time on your hands.
The way that little interchange worked was just me spouting nonsense and you spouting nonsense.
It was the best thing I've ever heard.
It was, but I'm not sure we could recreate it. It was okay. So you go ahead. I will try to.
We've
fill
got
in the blanks.
CGI, Ari. We could do anything. We can make any kind of movie we want.
I know.
Okay.
But can we outline the movie? That's the struggle that I'm having. It's like, where do we even begin?
Would Netflix even do this because it's Putin and he's the bad guy? Basically, the idea
doesn't matter.
Basically, it's a coming of age Putin story.
Yes.
He grew up in the woods with his grizzly bear mother and father and brothers and sisters. He was raised by grizzly bears, of course, because there's that meme with him on the back. He's
like
riding
the Jungle Book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Except not wolves and a monkey or whatever that ape thing was, but grizzly bears, because they're cool and all. So, anyways, he's raised. Right. He learns all these wilderness craft.
Yeah, and he puts that to use and joins the KGB. And he was raised by bears, so he's tough. He's clever. He knows how to survive.
Oh, he doesn't join. They come for him.
Oh, yes, even better. They recruit him.
And so we need a mentor.
And he kills like 40 or 50 of them. Like they come at him like samurais in a Japanese movie, like one at a time, and he's just mowing them down. Right?
Yeah, don't go one at a time. You got to do group.
That's how they always do it.
I know, but it makes it.
And then there's just some silhouette, right? And that's the guy who just calmly approaches and like, we are here for you.
Yeah. Well, it's
or he says something cooler than that.
And it's his mentor. It's whoever's going to train. So we need another tough Russian.
Is he going to play himself, or
it would have to
no? He's too old for that.
It would have to be like Stalin.
He's got to be like 20 in
this,
because this is. But it could go on. Yeah. I mean, he might make like a cameo later on in one of the follow-up seasons. But anyways, how does the season end? How does season 1 end? One-on-one combat with Elon Musk. Elon Musk, it's no tweets either. They're face to face. And Putin's walking away because he doesn't have time for this Texan, this Texan rich boy. And Elon is like, Joe Rogan has promised to train me. I want to fight you.
No, we would have to do it like...
turns his back and he's like, your terms are acceptable.
And then it would have to be like Rocky IV style, right? Where they're in this ring and you got all these Russian officials standing around, just cheering for whatever. And you expect to have this awesome Rocky moment where Elon Musk is just getting the crap beat out of him, and then he comes back and he just starts winning. But instead, the whole thing is just Elon Musk getting the crap beaten out of him.
It's worth noting Elon Musk is from South Africa.
But he's Texan now. Okay, so we can.
He lives in Texas, if that's what you mean.
With all the other escapees who've escaped from whatever state they have destroyed, and now they're currently destroying Austin.
Let's go back to Sarah. She wants to tax people like Elon Musk. She says she supports a tax on billionaires. And Sarah, tell us a little bit more about why you think billionaires should be punished harder than everybody else, because that's what taxes are. They're punishment of violence.
So then these are the 0.01%. So they're not even 1/100th of a percent. Are they every 10,000 people? Of that percentage, 0.01%?
No,
what does that mean?
It'd be less often than I think 1 out of 10,000. Billionaires are fairly
because
rare.
There's so few of them and there's so many of us, we can just basically control them and tell them what to do, take their money from them, steal it from them.
Well, since we voted for a Democrat socialist president.
I did not.
I'd vote for him.
Well, I did. I live in a state that voted for him. We voted for all the Democratic presidents. So then it's better than getting killed. It's better than being
Wait. So if they don't pay up, we're going to kill them?
No, we're not going to be that. I mean, this is
what if he refuses to pay? What if Elon Musk doesn't want to give his money up?
This still is
Gulag.
She doesn't want to answer that question.
That question has to be answered, though, Sarah. What happens if Elon Musk doesn't want to give up his money?
Well, this is not Russia. He would be put in jail and get exiled like those billionaires before.
So he would be kidnapped and held against his will in a prison.
No,
Russia would never.
They're going to be taxed because all of the voters have voted for the people, the Senate and the House.
I understand.
And the president
but
that
Elon Musk,
tax
I understand that. But Elon Musk is saying in our little scenario, no, I don't want to be taxed. And you're saying if he doesn't want to give up his money, he can be thrown in prison, right?
Well, this is in Russia, but we're not going to do that to him.
That's what you just said.
You just said you would do that to him.
What happens if Elon Musk says, no, I'm not going to pay this tax?
Well, I wonder what will happen. If he's arguing that if he pays that tax, that middle class
No, Sarah, it's not about class. It's not about warfare. It's Elon Musk saying, no, this is my money, and I'm not letting you steal it. What happens to Elon Musk in that scenario?
I guess there's nothing that we can do. What is the President Biden and the law can do? What do you think they're going to do to him? Penalize him?
Yes, they're going to send armed people to his house. They're going to drag him out of his home, and they're going to throw him in prison. You say this is not Russia, but that is exactly what they would do.
I really don't know what they're really going to do.
I can tell you what they would do. That's what they would do.
Are you really that ignorant, or are you just feigning? Are you pretending like you don't understand that there's violence behind all of the government taxing agencies?
But I really don't think that they would do that.
You
to
don't
them
know
in a capitalist
what the state
country.
is. You have no idea.
They would 100% do that, Sarah.
Yeah, here's what's more likely, though, to happen. If some sort of billionaire tax goes into place, people like Elon Musk will leave.
They'll leave. They'll continue to hide their money in Panama countries.
He'll leave, and he'll take his manufacturing to other countries. He'll shut down, because that's what he did, right? He's shutting down Tesla in California and moving it to Texas.
He'll build a big old boat out in the ocean and start his own country.
Yeah. So what happens then, Sarah? What happens if you create this billionaire tax and the billionaires just say, all right, we're out?
Well, where is he going to go? Is he going to go to Venezuela,
anywhere
North Korea,
else
Cuba
that doesn't have a billionaire
start a
tax? Let me tell you, there's a ton of places on this planet that would welcome Elon Musk and his billions of dollars and say, Elon, come on in. We'll tax you at 25% of what the federal government was taxing you at. 10%. Come on in. Build your factories. We got lots of people. They're skilled. They're willing to work. We are ready for you. There would be a bidding war to get Elon Musk to come in to their country. And you know what? Then you'd have even less tax revenue because all the billionaires that are smart would pack up ship and they'd leave the United States. So good luck with your billionaire tax.
Well, the thing about it is, they technically are self-exiling themselves. They're taking their
and I wouldn't blame them. Why would they
country.
want to stay in a place that doesn't welcome them, in a place that doesn't appreciate what they bring to the table, which is, of course, thousands of jobs?
Sarah, here's what I want to know. Why is your state the third most stressful state in the union, according to these metrics that we covered earlier this evening?
She wasn't
listening. We're not that stressed out. You know why? Because we're like the most government-dependent state in the whole country.
That's
why.
All right, Sarah. Thanks for the call tonight. There's more on the way. Time for you if you want to join us. 603-283-6160. It is Free Talk Live.
Don't worry about things you can't control. Isn't that what they always say? But it's about impossible to avoid worrying about what's going on these days. The government has used the war on guns, the war on drugs, and the war on terrorism to tear our Bill of Rights to shreds. But you can fight back. The 10th Amendment Center has proven it, racking up major victories. For example, when the U.S. government claimed authority in the NDAA to have the military kidnap and detain Americans without trial, the nullifiers got a law passed in California, declaring the state's refusal to ever participate in any such thing. Their latest project is offnow.org, nullifying the National Security Agency. They've already gotten model legislation introduced in California, Arizona, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas, meant to limit the power of the NSA to spy on Americans in those states. We'd be fools to wait around for the U.S. Congress or courts to roll back Big Brother. Our best chance is nullification and interposition on the state level. Go to offnow.org, print out that model legislation, and get to work nullifying the NSA. The hero Edward Snowden has risked everything to give us this chance. Let's take it. Offnow.org.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, phones are open in these remaining moments. Enough time for you. If you want to join us now, the number is 603-283-6160. With you tonight, we've got Ian,
Aria,
and Conan. And coming up, Forkfest is on the way in just about 3 months, a little bit less than 3 months.
It's getting close.
From now. It'll be here before you know it, so start making your plans immediately to attend if you want to come hang out with other freedom-loving people in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire for a week. It's June 27th through July 3rd. And it is the week after, by the way, the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which is technically sold out, but they've made a few extra tickets available. So if you want to attend the Porcupine Freedom Festival, you better get your tickets now. Otherwise, you're going to have to get them on the secondary market later on. And there will be some people that, they can't make it, so they sell their tickets. But Forkfest, there are no tickets. You just need to get your RV site, your camping site, or your motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. and come celebrate Independence Day with freedom-loving people here in New Hampshire. You can go to the unofficial website, forkfest.party, to learn more about the event. There's some chat rooms you can connect to there, as well as a Forkfest forum to connect with the other attendees in advance. It's forkfest.party, again, June 27th through July 3rd at Rogers Campground in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. We go to David in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. David.
Man, I am so stressed out. I can't figure out why. But I'd call and maybe you can help me figure out why would I be so damn stressed out? You notice when I call, I'm always stressed out?
It's because the state you're calling from, man.
Where's that? What's up?
According to this article, New Mexico is one of the most stressed out states in the union.
Oh, man. I knew it. I always suspected that.
All right, so you got your four metrics: work related, money related, family related, and health related.
I think it'd be family related because he's been screwed by the family courts for so many years.
Yeah, how come they don't have government related in there? I've been hassled in this state by government more than any other state. Huh?
Well, they stole his kids.
Ugh.
Yeah, family. There's another category, and that made my health go to hell. So there's another category, and then I lost all my money, so that made me poor. So there's another category. No wonder I'm stressed out in New Mexico. Jeez, I was born in Minnesota, grew up in Minnesota, Wisconsin, South Dakota, and I lived in Utah. I was in all the low stress states, and then here I am in New Mexico, and I'm all stressed out. What's
Man,
up
you really
with that?
blew it.
You messed up, dude. Yeah, Minnesota.
Yeah, you went the opposite direction.
Man.
I started in one of the most stressed out, which was Mississippi. Ended up in New Hampshire, which is one of the. You went the wrong way there, dude.
Yeah, go back to Minnesota because it's number 2 on the list of least stressful.
Yeah, but I didn't intend to stick here. I was just passing through, and they trapped me. Sounds like some sort of slogan, like "Land of Entrapment" or something. Hey, they should use that.
That's what they say about a lot of places. Come on vacation, leave on probation, or whatever. All right, you got anything else, David?
I got nothing. New Mexico took it all from me. I'm all stressed out.
Call. I appreciate it. That was a good response.
That was good, David.
Yeah.
I appreciated that one.
For sure. All right, 603-283-6160. So the remainder of the story that we started a little while back from the Laconia Daily Sun, this is about the Free State Project, and it's looking at both sides of the question, the people who are critical of the Free Staters and interviewing some of the Free Staters themselves here. So talking about Jason Sorens, who was the founding member or the creator of the Free State Project. He's kind of an academic. He's a teacher or professor or whatever at a college. And he's no longer a FSP board member and has publicly stated he is not in favor of secession. That's sort of been the theme of the article.
What the hell, dude?
Yeah, it's a shame. Jason Sorens says, and so then I guess they talked to Brody DeShays about Jason Sorens. Quote, Jason Sorens, he was the first person to use secession not to leave the Union, but to use it as leverage over the federal government. He disavowed that opinion, saying the idea attracted neo-fascists, neo-Confederates, and fringe elements, unquote. And then they actually interview Sorens, who says, quote, I have expressed some concerns about that. I think on the whole, the Free State Project has attracted desirable people who have reasonable views and conduct themselves well. But I am worried that the marketing message is appealing to some people who are maybe not sincere libertarians and are just more contrarians and anti-government in their views.
But yeah, you've been here 20 years, Ian. That's you.
15.
He's not contrarian. He's a libertarian.
I've been here longer than Jason Sorens has.
Was Sorens ever here?
Yeah, no, he moved several years ago or whatever. I think he moved like not long before they reached their goal.
Right.
Anyway, it's funny that he criticizes people being anti-government. Isn't that the whole point of being a libertarian, is that you're against the state?
As I understood it, government is fundamentally opposed to liberty.
Yeah.
And myself being a libertarian, I am fundamentally opposed to government or to the state.
As for secession being utilized as a leveraging tool against the federal government, Sorens confirmed his opinion changed. Quote, the idea wasn't well thought out at that time. In a subsequent essay, I abandoned that idea. I wrote a less often quoted update about 2 weeks later, unquote, in which he walked back from his secession argument. When asked about CACR 32, which is the bill that would have allowed the people to vote on the question of independence, Sorens said that he wasn't privy to the motivation of the sponsors. Quote, my guess is they wanted to start a conversation on the issue, unquote. And that is definitely one of the reasons.
That's what everyone said.
Yeah. Representative Mike Sylvia, the Republican from Belmont, he was the primary sponsor of the bill, said, quote, "The end goal is to have a government that is following the various constitutions that have been written," unquote. When asked what a free and sovereign New Hampshire nation would look like, such as government and borders, Sylvia declined to provide any details. Quote, "You're looking for answers from a central planner. I am not a central planner," he said.
I love that guy.
It's awesome. As for what comes after CACR 32's defeat, Sylvia stated, quote, "That's a good question. I suppose it's that in time that will get answered."
Nice.
And yes, it will. And indeed, right now we don't know what the immediate plan is. There's some talk about a potential independence caucus to be formed in the state house, which I think would be a great thing.
That would be great.
Because you've got 13 state house representatives who voted for this bill and 323 who voted against it. And it's just kind of cute that, obviously we would have loved to have had more than 13 vote for it. 20 would have been nice. But 13 original colonies, 13 state reps voting for independence. It's a good number as far as history is concerned, a good starting point. Something else that we're looking into is, like in New Hampshire, the legislature doesn't meet year-round. It's a part-time legislature, so they meet basically in the winter months for the most part.
Okay.
And so you're getting done now with what they do for this year. And there's like some things that they have to do, I think, on occasion from now until the election. But it's mostly going to be election season coming up, this summer. And so one of the things that I would like to see done, and I've reached out to a polling organization to learn about what it takes to hire them. I'd like to see an actual scientific poll done of the people of New Hampshire about this issue.
That would be nice to know.
Yeah.
Because that was the whole point of the ballot, right? Is to find out what the average New Hampshire voter actually thought about secession. And of course, the powers that be, they don't
even want that.
Nope.
They don't even want the option.
Because they're elitists, right? They think that their role as elected politicians is to protect the people from themselves.
To be a gatekeeper.
They are,
yes,
as that article mentioned, central planners, and they want that role in life.
That's right.
To be in control. Which is sad because...
it was Mark Twain who said if voting mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. Right, they're not going to let us vote on something that's actually of consequence. They did that during Brexit, and they immediately regretted it.
Yeah, and maybe it wouldn't even have been a close vote, but we don't get to find out. So that's why I think having an actual scientific poll done by a reputed, respected polling firm could make for some interesting conversation.
And even if the results were close, these central planners don't even want people knowing that your neighbor right across the street from you might think of things like this. They want you being all patriotic and Civil War bad. Don't ever do this because that might lead to no pensions in another Civil War. But there's probably a lot more people that you don't realize who have these thoughts in the back of their head. They're rolling around. They want to leave the abusive relationship.
But they don't want to talk about it because they're maybe afraid of what their neighbors will think.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that is a good point. And again, it'll get a conversation continued over the summertime. I think it would be a good time to do it. Would be the summer, and it may cost a few $1,000s, but I think it would definitely spur some more media attention. Like if it's coming from a real polling firm, then it's gonna polls get attention, right? And there have been secession-related polls in the entire United States. The last one that I always like to talk about is where they asked the states if would you support your state seceding from the United States and joining a union of the surrounding states? And a significant number of Americans across the entire United States said yes.
What does that mean, a union of surrounding states?
Like New England or the Southeast or, Pacific Northwest. Like having
places
a new
nation.
You see like a New England country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be anywhere near Mordor, Massachusetts.
We're not going to ask that question when we do a poll. But the point was, it was like a third of voters or a third of the respondents in this survey in New England said yes to that question. But again, it's about New England, so we didn't get New Hampshire's results. We didn't get to ask the question we wanted to ask. So that's something I think we're going to work on. See you tomorrow night. freetalklive.com in the meantime. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may